This one.
And now you're on the world.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
You're
This
literally
one.
on the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 493.
Check. Where's my check, Terry?
All sorts of check-in going on here. Welcome in, everyone. This golf guy, Terry Miller, back here in studio with Johnny V.
I didn't expect you to be here. I'm not going to lie. I had to put...
You know how many people say that to me?
Well, yeah.
A lot, wherever I go.
Usually your family, honestly.
Yeah,
Like, what are you doing here, pal?
Yeah, my youngest said, when are you leaving again, when I saw her today? And I said, in a couple days I go back to bed. She goes, checks out. So, yes, very, very crazy time. As you said, it logistically probably would make more sense to spend maybe just a couple more days in Southeast Asia and then fly directly to Bend, Oregon, or somewhere into Portland, whatever, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But no, about 20 some hours of travel that started sometime yesterday or the day before. A little action from Chiang Mai to Taipei into Chicago, and then eventually getting back up into Milwaukee. It was a long day of travel yesterday, and I'm here and head out to Bend for the All-Star Weekend in just a couple of days.
Exciting weekend. Our first live disc golf since really October, and it's going to be a unique format, a little bit, some changes. I was in an early production meeting today. I have nothing to do with the All-Star event, but sometimes I hop on because I just like to listen to the guys talk control room. And we're getting, obviously we're still going to get some competition. I think 9 holes, something like that.
I don't know.
And there's going to be a distance competition and putting and an accuracy like we've seen in the past. The format's just a hair different in that I think last year they did like all the MPO and then events, then they did all the FPO events. This year, they're going to do the events, MPO, FPO, MPO, FPO, MPO, FPO. So they don't have to kind of recircle back around. Just little minor format changes, which I think will work out really well for people. We're going to have Jeff Spring on a little bit later today. Maybe he can tell us a little bit more about the format, talk about the new Pro Tour pricing for the DGN, and I don't know, we'll get something fun out of him.
Yes, as you just said, that was probably one of the bigger news items that got people. I don't know if it got anyone excited as much as maybe riled up in some capacity. So hopefully, if there's any questions or clarifications that need to be had, that's exactly why we'll be having the CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Jeff
Throw
Spring.
him on our chat if you have a question.
Yeah,
maybe it's something we hadn't thought of.
Start putting him in there if you'd like, because Jeff will be joining us in a little while. He's actually doing some traveling himself. I don't know where he's going to or from, but
I would imagine he's on his way to Florida. Yeah, on his way to Florida for the All-Star event.
Maybe. That would make sense. So
I'm going to make that assumption.
Once he gets all checked in and ready to go and get set up, he's going to join us here on the show. Obviously, that was, like I said, one of the biggest announcements or sets of news that came out today. So perfect timing to get all clarified and up to date on that. Just as a clarification as well, unlike last year when I came home, I went from Chiang Mai almost directly to Tucson because that's where the Disc Golf Pro Tour Industry Conference was taking place. And then me, along with Charlie Eisenhood and Jonathan from Jomez, we all had a little bit of a speaking engagement, so to speak, for some of the media stuff. And this year, with that event not taking place, at this time anyway, in that location, I'm able to come home for a couple more days. But last year and this year, experiencing what they call the burn season in Chiang Mai.
I warned you.
And it wasn't bad this year. Everything has actually been much nicer. I didn't even really notice any kind of smoke or anything like that. It's obviously very temperature and weather dependent as to what's going on. I feel perfectly fine. Just noticed literally in the last 24 hours, and then, of course, some traveling and plane and everything else, not doing me any favors as I was closing out the weekend in Chiang Mai. But hopefully another good night of sleep tonight is in store and we'll be good to go. I saw one of the videos posted from last year's All-Star. It was a clip, and I was doing play-by-play. I was in the booth, and I obviously sounded terrible. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, you took a day off last year.
Yeah, well, I was instructed to take the afternoon off because I think I was sounding that terrible on the broadcast.
Yeah, you were. I remember that.
So hopefully this is going to be pretty short-lived. I'm going to get back on my apple cider vinegar kick. I was playing around with a little apple cider vinegar just before leaving, and tonight I saw it. I'm like, I'm going to need some fluids. Let's get back on it. So if you guys have insight onto that, let me know. It seems like for something you and I have never really like dabbled in or been like part of our daily routine or weekly or monthly routine, it's insane how much it is recommended by so many different people.
Apple cider
vinegar.
Which is the part that's good for you? The apple, the cider, or the vinegar?
That's a good question.
Because I
drink daily dose of wellness.
Oh, great. I drink apple cider. I drink hard apple ciders as well.
Yeah.
Prefer the latter, but the vinegar part, it's never been part of my. Yeah, it's never been part of my routine.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try and see if I can just get back in the routine. It's overall apparently good gut health, and I've got plenty of guts, so we'll see if it adjusts.
And do you need a lot of that for good health, or is it I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. Wonder if it's all relative. Anyway, so we'll talk about that. I think maybe there was a ratings update. I think I saw a post on that today. We can talk about a little bit of the other things that were going on within PDGA news. And we'll take it from there. Sorry, I'm already reading the board. Apple cider with Vienna sausages is good.
Okay. My wife makes a really good sausage, apple, and like a noodle kind of thing. It's delicious. So they go to apples and sausage go together very well.
I guess. Here we are. All right. Let's start out with what do we got for anything new from the PDGA perspective that's not tied to the DGN pricing, because that was, I feel like, very significant.
Not a lot. Something we didn't cover. Well, you were right. There was PDGA ratings update today, actually.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter. Not going to lie. There's an update, but the only person, and Terry, maybe you can look him up, that would really probably benefit from this would more or less be Parker Welk. He would be the person because he has kind of, I don't want to say dominated, but he has been in the spotlight this offseason, especially over in Arizona, where he has played very well, taking down Anthony Barella twice. So Parker is the guy that if I were to look at a ratings bump, he would be the one I would look at. But most of our other players, they haven't even, I don't know if any of them have picked up discs yet.
Yeah, not necessarily too concerned, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they haven't really played competitively in quite a few months, so I don't think we're going to see much of a change from any of them.
All right.
The other news that I wanted to bring up, and maybe it's something that you would know a little bit better, is that we have a new PDGA change. Rebecca Hall Duffy, RHD, as we so affectionately call her. She has a new position with the PDGA, and I believe it is known as, I gotta find it here. It was just on the front page too. She basically took Jeff Jacquois' job. She is now the PDGA Director of Competition, and that was the same title that Jeff Jacquois had last year, and is now no longer with the PDGA. Mm-hmm. So I believe Rebecca Hall Duffy. Is she still go by all three, or is it just Rebecca Duffy?
Again, I think we've known her long enough.
We can call her whatever we want.
Yeah, RHD, Rebecca Hall Duffy, Rebecca Duffy. How does it just list Rebecca Duffy there?
I think it just says.
I think that's what she has on her official name tag when I run into her out on the course.
Whatever.
But she'll always be RHD to us.
Yep. And if you want to listen to her talk about that, you can go to the PDGA radio podcast from last week, and they've got an interview with her, and so you can check in with that. That's really the only informational PDGA stuff that has been updated, other than a couple events that pop up every week.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some events quickly. Go over a few of what we've seen.
You just came from Southeast Asia, and this is kind of close. We're going to talk about New Zealand a little bit. This is the 2024 Bottle Lake Open presented by Ideo Sports. This was in Christchurch, New Zealand. We have an open field of 29 players, and Levi Stout wins this event, shooting one better than Luke Humphreys. And these events, I believe, are some of the ones that are covered by Gatekeeper. So you can go out and check them out if you want. Spoilers if it's not out already. Sorry. I don't know.
I mean, they're a day ahead of us.
That's true. This happened
practically
6 months ago already. So Levi Stout wins over Luke Humphreys. Luke shot a 23, Levi a 24 under. In third place was Tall Paul Oman. And tied for fourth, a three-way tie between Jackson Sullivan, Sebastian Falconer, I love that last name, Falconer, and Francis Orange.
Love it. And it sounds like, and then as you scroll down just a little bit more, I see Jackson on there, Jacko. Also see one Simon Feasy, one of the owners of RPM. Clearly, RPM and New Zealand go hand in hand. RPM continues, I think, to grow their brand, to grow their fan base, and then being involved with everything else that's going on in this New Zealand tour is just absolutely incredible. And a lot of people are talking about not only the great golf that's over there, the views, the sightseeing, the experience, all of that we continue to belabor when it comes to anything outside of the U.S. in terms of getting out and having some of these new tours and hotbeds of disc golf pop up and explode. And that's what's happening in New Zealand right now. So very, very cool to see it.
Over on the FPO side, JK, Juliana Korver, takes down this win, shooting a flat even. Her round ratings, she started out with 1,019 rated round. Yeah. That's what damn. There's not much more to say than that. Followed up with a 950 and a 950. Still all three rounds above her rating, but what a great round. I believe she said it was one of her better rounds of her life. Second place was Sapphire Waiaru, and in third place, Haley Flintoff. So congratulations to our top three FPO, all of them cashing. JK for $569. Nice little travel money, some good pocket cash.
And now, if you click on her name, is that her 251st win or 250th?
I think that
252nd. Okay,
yeah. She's put up a few wins over there.
Yeah, okay, like four.
Yeah, like four of them.
The first one, to be fair, was here technically in the States, taking place at the Big Island Open in Hawaii, and then has strung together 3 consecutive wins in New Zealand. So, not too shabby for an off season. Right?
Yeah, I mean, just based on her travels, she's pulled in about $1,400 or $1,500. Again, good travel money. Yeah, and that covers your flight. Way to go!
Exactly.
Now you're set.
And more importantly, just an experience of a lifetime. I can only imagine hanging out in New Zealand for a couple of weeks. My time there was short, in just a few days with Simon and the RPM crew, but to be there for a few weeks, absolutely incredible.
Go visit some hobbits. Mm-hmm. All right. Over here, stateside, moving over to Florida. This is kind of an all-star warm-up, maybe. Maybe it's a chess.com warm-up. I don't know. It's hard to say. But it's the 2024 Gulf Coast Charity Open presented by the Florida Real Estate Team. In first place, Matthew Blakely coming in hot, shooting 30 under par, 1,020, 1,042, and a 994, winning $792, besting a tie for second place, which was Clay Harvey and John E. McCrae. So congratulations. Fourth place, Dan Schlitter, and fifth place, Vinny Montanari. So those are your top 5 at the 2024 Gulf Coast Charity Open. Moving down over to FPO, we had a Linz battle.
Shocker
is
to
right.
Have it be 1 stroke apart when they were done.
So ridiculous. Morgan Linz wins over Jordan Linz. Morgan shoots a 20 under. Morgan shoots a 20 under. Jordan shoots a 19 under. So they were neck and neck up until the very end. In third place, Nid Ovathanison. I think I nailed that one, actually. And a tie for fourth place, Alexis Kerman and Ellen Wid to the Boom.
Shakalaka.
That's what we got.
Love it.
Those are your top 5 FPO at the 2024 Gulf Coast Charity Open.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, there was some adjustments that were potentially made by that event. I think there was once the tour was coming into Florida to partake and have the All-Star Weekend along with the chess.com event. The Gulf Coast Charity Open, if I recall, was one of those that was significantly impacted because they, I believe, were going to be on one of the next 2 weekends. Ultimately, obviously, made some adjustments and still pulled off a successful event. But there was a lot of that moving and shaking that took place, and we saw that almost from coast to coast in that there were some adjustments that had to be made when that shocker came in a few months ago. Has it already been a few months that the tour is going to be starting off over in Florida this year? So congrats to them and their event. All right, I'll quickly, if you don't want, some of you already know.
No, I was going to talk about, maybe we already talked about that last week, was the business news about Jeremy Rusko. Yeah, we already talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
My bad.
I'm just going to quickly stay on the theme, though, of PDGA events and results. If you don't want to hear what happened, although it's very exciting, if you don't want to hear what happened just yet, because my coverage isn't out, that's fine. Ooh. But I'm going to quickly just talk about the Chiang Mai Open, wow, that took place. I was there. I had the pleasure of seeing the very fun and beautiful Lana Rocks Garden course that Pete and the rest of the crew and John worked so tirelessly at and just put on an incredible show. We'd, of course, had a couple of Americans that you guys are very familiar with, the likes of Trevor Harbolt, Shasta Chris were both there in attendance. And I'll quickly run down a few of the results of that because coverage is probably going to be a week or so. Even though it's almost edited, coverage is still going to be a week or so away. So in MPO, in a very great battle, taking it down, Shasta Chris is your champion at the Chiang Mai Open. Last year, he was bested by Scott Stokely. This year, Shasta, your champ. Second place, Trevor Harbolt, who made an announcement a few weeks ago
that he was retiring.
He retired from MPO.
He was going to play MP40.
And then he's like, well, I know where the money and I know where the coverage is. So he came back to MPO, and it was great to see and absolutely loved it. I got a little extra time with Trevor this week as well. So it was a lot of fun. So Trevor finishing in second and losing to Shasta Chris. Third is Pichet Pantarat. And fourth was Tamo Youngcurry. So very nice. Good to see all those guys. Margaret Patterson was your champion in FPO. Margaret is the woman that I met last year who won one or two events during the Southeast Asia swing. Then and she hails out of Hong Kong along with her family, although originally has roots in Colorado. She's taught in like 7 different countries as a teacher, her and her husband. So she's back there. She wins FPO. She declines the cash. She won FA50 at AM Worlds last year. FA50 in Arizona. And she has declined the cash here at this event to retain her amateur status.
So she can
she's
win MA50?
FA50. I think she's going after FA50.
55, maybe?
I'm not sure. But she's retained her status. Again, what turned out to be a relatively small FPO field. And she did have her closest competitors by about 60 or 70 or 80 ratings points. But she did take it down and decline the cash. So Margaret is your champion, though. Second place, Lauren Galloway. And third, did great. All right.
Weak
yeah,
sauce.
I know. And I know her, and I still can't pronounce her name correctly.
It's okay.
Benjamin Steele took it down in MP40. MP50, Savari? I don't think I met him. I'm sure. Excuse me, that's MA1. Took it down in MA1. Greg James had a pretty solid Southeast Asian swing. He won MA50 in Samui, then played the Pro Weekend, won MP50, and then here wins MP50 as well. So Greg James,
triple dipping.
Yeah, does quite well. Blake Davis, your MA2 champ. Mook taking it down in FA2, and Stephen Beeks taking it down in MA3. So,
Tim Court says Greg James may not come home to Ohio with all the wins he's getting overseas.
I know. Yeah, him and I had a good talk. Great to see him out there. And yes, Tim.
Well, Tim, you can move up one more spot.
I said hello to him for you in seeing Greg out there again. So, yeah, just incredible. You guys are gonna love it. They're without giving all the details, I'll say the final round is very special. It's very special to Shasta. It was a very special event to cover, and very exciting to watch. And I have rounds 2 and 3 that will be released. I was not covering round 1, but rounds 2 and 3 will be released on my channel for the Chiang Mai Open. Rounds 1, 2, and 3 of MPO will be released for the Samui Swine, and then the final 9 holes or so of the Southeast Asia Championships in Malaysia is also already queued up. So all of that plus Spicy Boy was out there capturing the Maricopa event while I was overseas. So we'll
you've
get
got
that
more
edited.
editing to do.
Even more. So plenty of action coming in on the channel, I guess is what I can tell you guys.
We'll get that out soon, because once the Disc Golf Pro Tour starts,
yes,
ain't nobody caring about
strike
the little
while the iron's
events.
hot. I know. You guys will see a flood of disc golf coverage get released on my channel here over the next couple of weeks, just to satiate you as we're getting geared up for the Pro Tour and everything else. All right. Is there any other news or things noteworthy that came across your desk here, Johnny?
Been kind of a quiet week. Just a lot of people getting ready again for the Pro Tour to start. Obviously, like I said, today we saw that the DGN subscription tiers. I know the Disc Golf Pro Tour has more news coming in the next couple of weeks regarding a few other things, but nothing really major.
I did see some news, and there's got to be some hype surrounding as we gear up for the year. What is going on in the world of fantasy disc golf that these people need to know about?
Oh, that. Gosh. Well, what's going on in fantasy? We are in draft mode, so to speak. So,
Ooh.
I know, draft mode. It's like NASCAR, but different. So, ultimately, what we're going to see is a lot of people are creating leagues, getting their friends together to join a league, whether it's a paid league, or we offer a lot of free leagues too. If you want to just play for free and try it out, you can play with a real basic set of rules. The custom leagues where we allow you to do things like automatic alternates. So if your player decides they're going to DNF or not show up, which we've seen in the past, you get somebody to replace that person automatically. Now, those are all part of the paid subscription tier. But we've got a lot of people right now creating leagues and doing drafts, whether it's most of them are year-long drafts, so that you can kind of get together a bunch of your buddies, just like fantasy football. It's a great time to sit and talk smack, pick the players who you think are going to do best this year, and then about 6 weeks into your season, cry because one of them is hurt, one of them didn't do as well as you thought, someone's washed up. How come the guy who auto-drafted
is winning?
How come he's winning? Because last year the guy who auto-drafted, for some reason, almost all of them, you got James Proctor, and James Proctor had a great season, so it was
not
it's
complaining
some fun
about
season.
that afterwards, right?
But yeah, exactly. No one's complaining about that. But ultimately, we've got drafts going on, and there's a newsletter coming out in the next day or so from me, which will have some draft information. As far as we've got a couple guys out there that do like almost like a little prepper. Who to watch this year. Maybe some players that you might want to draft earlier, later, just kind of some draft prep. There's 2 different gentlemen who do that, and I'm going to link to their site so that they can kind of look at that. And you can, if you need some help doing your drafts, that's great. And you've got literally until probably Wednesday or Thursday, the night before. Chess.com's a 3-day event, right?
Yes.
Yes. So that'd be until Thursday, that draft, if you want to include chess.com. Now, if you can't get a team together, a group together before that Thursday, you can still draft. You can keep picking leagues. It's just you won't get the events that have already occurred. So if you can't get your buddies, if somebody's flaky, you can draft after chess.com, and that one just won't be included in your league. So, there's no cutoff date as to when we are accepting leagues.
Now, maybe you do or don't want to share publicly
Okay.
if they participate, but do we have any big or small names within the competitors that you feel like you've seen maybe sign up and register?
Not this year. I haven't.
Okay.
Well, I'll say I haven't seen the players that have registered this year. I do know there's a few of our players that have signed up for the site in years past. Whether they still play or not, haven't been keeping track of that. But yeah, we've got a couple of the pros names. I think in there, Simon was in there at one point. I think Avery was in there at one point. We saw there's a few of the DGPT guys, some of the staff that play. Sean Jack is a big player over on the West Coast. He is our kind of our tour advertising contact. He's the guy who's getting a lot of these sponsorships for us for the Pro Tour. The West Coast, the San Francisco guys have had a league going for many years. And it's a couple names that most people might recognize, especially if you have followed this podcast for a while. I'd have to go through again and see if anyone has recently subscribed. This year we also have a big year-long sponsor in OTB. OTB Discs stepped up as I knew they would because they have been awesome with the site. They've constantly, anytime I've asked them for anything, they've just been like, sure, what do you want? For our pro members, there's a Skip Ace Pro option. That's $10 for the entire year. And you get access to a few extra stats, but you also get access to a weekly event that's private, only for Skip Ace Pro members. And every week, you're going to make some picks. And if your picks are the best picks, you're going to get a gift certificate from OTB Discs. So once again, a huge shout out to OTB Discs. I'm still talking to a couple other sponsors that might join in, and maybe whether it's for the pro people or maybe it's just for everybody. It all depends on how they want to work it. We're going to get some of that. We're going to spread some of that love around.
Okay. Well, yeah, big shout out OTB for jumping on.
Mm-hmm.
And how many different fantasy disc golf websites, apps, whatever?
I can't talk about competitors.
I mean, none of them are a competitor to you.
I mean, yeah, that's
no. But how many that you know of? Well, and now clearly there's people that are probably exclusively running some off some fancy spreadsheets somewhere.
There's a few Excel
and there are guys
ones
that get together that way. But
I've heard
in terms of organized, structured apps and or websites, how many do you know of that are happening? Or maybe the board could chime in on a few.
I really only know of mine, Skip Ace, the best in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's Heiser Base.
Okay.
Which is a slightly different version of fantasy, is my understanding.
Okay.
They run it a little differently depending on what you want. I don't think they offer the same kind of leagues that I do.
Okay.
And I thought there was one more. There was one that got all big and prepped and
wasn't
talked
it like
about.
fantasydiscgolf.com or something like that?
No, it was something slightly different than that. But I don't think they ever came to fruition. I think they had a big announcement, like this was before last season, saying, hey, we're coming out, we're doing this, and then they vanished.
Okay.
So not sure. Would have to listen to the board and know if there's any other ones. On Your Card. Thank you, Robert Goike. That is the other one. On Your Card. On Your Card is, I believe it's almost like buying and selling player stock almost. So it's not quite that, but I know that they have had leagues with some pro players that have been on your card, and I think the pro players get a kickback based on some things. But yeah, on your card is the other one. Those are the only ones I know about. Most of those, I think the other two are mobile only apps.
Okay.
So you can't go to a website, I don't believe, and play. I think you have to do it on your phone. Skip Ace doesn't have a direct mobile app, simply because a couple of reasons. One, my site was created web first many years ago. A mobile app is expensive, and anything someone buys through a mobile app, Apple gets 30% of, or Google gets 30% of. So I've kind of avoided that. And there's some really funny rules about if your site offers pay, but your mobile app doesn't, how you can direct people. It's one of those things I just would rather kind of step away from. I know that I've actually talked to some of the guys at the Pro Tour about their new service plans, and all of them are kind of hoping and praying that you sign up on the web, because if you sign up via mobile, like I said, Apple's taking a 30% cut of that subscription. Now, they offer mobile, the Pro Tour does offer the mobile option to purchase because it is easier, but man, that's got to hurt watching, like, if you have a $12 subscription, watching $4 of that go right to Apple, and you're not even seeing that. So they just take a cut right off.
What if you watch it with the new ProVision goggle things or whatever?
Oh, I think they charge double.
Okay.
Because they know you've got $3,500 burning a hole in your pocket, that they're just going to take your money.
Take full advantage of it. Okay. All right. Well, what's the website, Johnny?
Skipace.com. You can go there. That'll bring you to the homepage. But if you want to go directly to the site, you can go to app.skipace.com. But either one, there's a pretty easy way to get there. When you sign up for the website, you'll get put on the newsletter. And the newsletter will send out, like I said, I'll send one out in a couple of days with some information and some updates as far as what's going on. I need to get a hold of my web guy to see if we can get pushed through one or two more little updates before the season starts.
What I would love is if you sold all my information. That's the only reason I sign up for stuff, is so people can sell my information. You do that, right?
I have
Should you?
About 26 or 27,000 emails in our system.
I'll buy them.
How much?
I don't know, $20. And it's a Samui disc.
Oh, the Samui just put it over the top for me. No, Skipbase promises that we're not selling your data to anybody. Nobody gets your data. Not any of the sponsors, not anybody. No way and no how do I sell any information. That's my information to harvest and sell people to.
There you go.
So, yes, that's definitely not. But I take that back. It's $20, but just for Avery Jenkins' email address,
okay.
Which I think you probably already have, but I'll sell it.
Maybe. I'd be interested. All right, so make sure you check it out. Unfortunately, our disc golf community lost an absolute legend just a few days ago. PDGA number 33, Tom Monroe, had passed away. I saw the initial post come from good friend of his and also legend in every way, Levon Wolf. I'll just quickly read a few things that you can find posted on Levon's page. As like I said, this is where I originally had the news. He talked about it a few days ago, and then he goes on to say things like, Tom was one of the greatest competitors, but he taught us that it isn't just about throwing a disc, watching it fly, and beating par. It is about spreading love, growing relationships, teaching, and inspiring others. That's what's Tom's life's mission. He was a champion on and off the course in everything he did. We loved him, and he loved us. Remembering Tom will always make me smile. So, very gracious words there from Levon. I'm saddened to know that I had only a few interactions with Tom, and those were many, many years ago. But PDGA number 83, also in the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame. In fact, in the very first class of Hall of Famers. So
that says a lot when you're in the first class of
when
Hall
they're
of
like,
Famers.
hey, let's make a Hall of Fame. Oh, and you need to be in it as one of the first people. He was along the likes of Steady Ed Hedrick, PDJ 001, Stork 003, Jim Palmieri, I think Jim's number 23, Tom Monroe, PDGA 33, and then Dave Dunapace, Ted Smethers, and Vanessa Chambers. That was your first class of the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame, and Tom was one of those guys. And I'm sure many of you have, if you're down in the South or anywhere near him, you probably were blessed to be around him and be graced with his presence. An incredible human, and has done so much for disc golf. So, of course, very much missing an icon and a legend of the game from just a few days ago. So everyone remember Tom Monroe, and there's plenty of information out there if you'd like to go out and read a little bit more. Again, I feel I did myself a disservice by not getting to know him even better in the last few years. But certainly disc golf's better and grew and is in a better place because of the endless contributions Tom has put forward into our sport. So rest in peace, Tom. From 1993 was the inaugural year of the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame. Pretty incredible. All right.
Did you see this new Zuca cart from Ricky Wysocki?
I saw an ad from Rick, and I'm like, oh, Rick, and then I moved on. No, I know he's rocking some kind of new signature cart, and all I thought was, damn, that boy's got to pay for that mansion he's got, because I think I need to take out a mortgage to get after one of these. They look sturdy and built, but that's a car payment and then some. That's a cheap house payment. In the wrong part of town.
In the wrong part of town, maybe. Yeah, the Zuca Arsenal cart, the Ricky Wysocki edition, $5, and we're talking those big bills, the $100 bills.
Oh, and we're not talking 500 baht.
No,
that would be $15.
That would be a little different.
Okay.
But the Zuca card is $500. I saw some kickback on social media, people talking about, why is it so expensive, this and that. Ricky gives a really good explanation as to, the value that he finds in the card. It looks like it's a custom card. It's got this really nice seat on it with pads that folds up and extra disc storage that you normally see. It looks like a phenomenal cart, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. It can carry.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Can carry 300 pounds. We're set.
Seat weight capacity.
You and I are set. We're okay. Not together.
I was going to say, I don't think you can sit on my lap on that.
No, that's not happening. But it's got,
either one of us individually would be okay.
Individually, we're okay for now. We'll see. I'm working on it. It's got a bunch of, some what they call loony bins, which are water bottle holders, extra thick. It's, like I said, extra disc capacity, things like that. I think it's a great idea to see these kind of like a Ricky Wysocki edition. We see these with regular bags as well. Sure. And I've got no problem with the price, to be honest. It's expensive, but I think most companies should have options for people who want, I don't sound silly, but people who want to spend more.
Sure. Well, and there's clearly something to be said about a signature lineup with any given product. You may be able to buy we'll say a grip bag for X amount, but a signature series so-and-so grip bag might cost you $20 more or whatever, or a pound bag or whomever else, or a pure bag, whatever the case might be, as they continue to support these players at a higher level and some of these events at a higher level. They're giving you, that little extra, like you said, price point, but also that extra support and the overall tie to one of these players or something of that nature. So, if that's in your wheelhouse, pardon the pun, kind of, then go out and get yourself a Ricky Wysocki. I didn't know the price. I saw there was a quick commercial that I think was posted when I was overseas, and makes perfect sense. Ricky specifically, as much as any other player, I don't know if there's any other player that I more so equate a cart to than Ricky. Obviously, others play. Jennifer Allen, Sarah Hokum.
Hokum is the other one.
Those are a couple that have been really rocking carts for a while, especially Sarah. And clearly, there's thousands of others and hundreds of other top tier golfers that do. But when I think of who for sure tried and true is pulling a cart or has a caddy pulling a cart, Ricky's on the top of that list. He's been cart life for a while now.
He has. Yeah, he was way back in the day. Delta Carts, I believe he was sponsored by. Yep. He's gone through a cartorama of sponsors, and so that's just Rick for you. He believes in this product.
Yeah. So best of luck. And someone asked on the board if at that price point you get somebody to carry your cart or pull it for you.
Maybe if someone sees that nice cart, they're like, "Hey, can I pull that for you?
Damn, can I pull your cart, bro?"
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't mean anything weird by that. Just, can I pull your cart?
I don't know.
I will say,
is that the Ricky Wysocki edition? Damn,
fool! What you rocking? I need one of those. I think
Zuca, you can send some our way for the sponsorship.
Yeah, of course. No, but when I was in I think we've seen a few tournaments that essentially set up some form of rental cart.
Really, I've not seen that.
I know we talked about that when I had gone to Australia, and I feel like maybe it was just this Masters World. If not, this is a great idea for a bunch of you,
especially for a Masters Worlds.
Exactly, where
these guys are old.
You could test out and or rent or use a cart for a week, so you don't have to bring it with you. Maybe you've got that exact same cart at home, and now you don't want to pack it, or you can't, or whatever, because you're limited for whatever reasons, whether it's flight or driving, and just rent
That's a heck of a business idea. Imagine following the Pro Tour with a a tiny trailer full of carts.
I don't think that
And
the
then-
logistics and the math work out enough that
Shut
it
up,
would be
Terry.
completely
And-
fruitful, but
And
It's still an idea.
Every week you stop at wherever the tour is, and then someone checks out their cart, because we know some of these players are rolling in smaller vehicles. They maybe don't have room for their cart, and they're bagging it. But maybe whatever caddy they want to have that week would rather do a cart. So guess what? For $30 for the weekend, or 40 or 50, whatever that is, hey, you can rent a cart. There it is. There's your $1
for an
million.
extra $50, you get to rent a cart puller.
Yeah. Oh wow. So that's $100 for the puller and the
Mhm.
wow.
Just think how much that saves you.
Well, I guess, yeah.
I don't know. There's the idea is there somewhere. Maybe our math doesn't quite math yet, but somewhere there'll be. That's the way it'll work out.
And Doc Zen brings up a good point. One of the other reasons why it is the price it is because it does come with the bag, which most of the Zuca carts, some of them don't. This is a separate bag, so you get the price for the cart and the bag. Blah 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 blah. But I just happened to see it on social media. Ricky make an announcement, and then he got some kickback, so he made a video talking about why he does it.
Kickback on social media.
Kickback on the media.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, there's the internets that they can be brutal sometimes. I got into a couple little discussions today on the Reddits.
Oh, that probably wasn't fruitful.
Some of it was. Some of it wasn't.
It probably
Some
wasn't.
Some of it was good conversation. Some of it was just people being not so nice.
Mm.
I mean, you get that, but I'm okay with that.
Mm.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it, Terry Miller.
As silly as this is about to sound, I'm realizing that no matter what you post, I don't care what it is, there's absolutely somebody that can just dig so deep to find anything to put a negative spin on it, and then they have to make that public.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm at the point of I'm almost crossing the threshold of being pissed off about it to like almost impressed. Like, holy cow, you are that big of a piece of trash that you somehow found negative in this very enlightening or very positive or very pleasant post.
My
picture, you found negativity. It's become astonishing.
Old man rant mode. My favorite was years ago when Paul Macbeth was starting up the Paul Macbeth Foundation. We had so many people, like D-bags, that were like, "Oh, this is just a tax write-off for Paul." Like he's trying to rake over the system and stuff. And it's like, no, Paul was legitimately. Everyone said, "No, we think Paul's legitimately doing this." And it turns out, all these years later, I think that's a pretty good take that Paul is pretty dedicated to this Paul Macbeth Foundation thing, and he's doing a lot of really good in the world.
Nah, who cares about other courses and
in underserved areas of the world,
and countries?
Yeah. Oh gosh, literally growing the sport, not just saying it. Gosh, but yeah, there's always somebody. Jeff Spring said he was going to hope to join us around 8:45. So hopefully.
Okay. So it should be any moment now that we'll likely get him once he gets all settled in. I think he had planes, trains, and everything else to be on today. So we'll probably be hearing from him any minute now. Excuse me, I was just about to look.
We'll see how traffic is, because he did see. I think he was driving from the airport to his hotel.
I guess to follow up on what is typically our off-season conversation, any other adjustments or news or announcements when it comes to sponsorship conversations that's been, we'll say, out of the ordinary or surprising, or clarifiers that have been out there in terms of somebody saying, "Hey, I'm doing this, but I'm actually, this is happening." Do you feel like there's been anything significant?
I don't know if we talked much about it. Chandler Kramer, there wasn't a sponsorship announcement, because the announcement was there was no sponsorship. He is going open bag this year. And part of it is probably by choice. Part of it is maybe just based on whatever situation he was in. But it's, a really interesting choice to see what he's doing, because we've seen this in the past. We saw Drew Gibson go open bag famously a few years ago, but he was also kind of dipping his toes into a lot of different manufacturers. Like, he was working with Legacy. He was working with
Infinite,
and EV, or is that the putter?
EV7.
EV7. Is that the putter or is that the brand?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so he was kind of doing that. So while he was true an open bag, he also was dedicated to some specific plastics.
Yeah, he had an actual contract specifically for that particular putter. Like that had to be the putter that he was using. Go on.
And so, but Chandler Kramer is just straight open bag. He does have sponsors. They're not disc manufacturer sponsors, but he does have some sponsors. So he is able to pick from any different manufacturer or disc or whatever that he so chooses. So I thought that was a really interesting approach. When I think that knowing Chandler and how good of a player he is, I think he could have picked up on any particular team. Maybe not on one of the elite teams at this point, but because a lot of those are filled out, probably come right at the end of the season. But he could have got like a tour team or whatever that second tier team is these days. Everyone's a little different.
Well, clearly there wasn't an offer that was compelling enough or was advantageous enough for him to want to jump on it and be exclusive to anyone. That's my perception of it. I can give him the kudos and the prompts for going the route that he is. I'm excited. Bearing on me, and I'm excited to see it. I guess my only takeaway would be clearly no one blew him out of the water with just this unbelievable offer deal that he couldn't refuse, because likely he would have signed it then.
We talk a lot about players signing these 1-year agreements are like prove me contracts. Like, I want to prove to the world that I'm worth X amount, so I'm going to sign 1 year, and then after that, we're going to make that big hit. This is truly a prove me year for him. Like, what's he going to go with? Is he going to show up on tour? Is he going to play well enough? Well, he's going to show up on tour, but is he going to play well enough to command some sort of bigger sponsorship next year? I don't know.
Yeah, this could be turn out to be a genius move on his part, and because then what the conversation within the media world will be is, how's this guy not sponsored? Who passed him up? Why didn't somebody give him a contract this year? So if he goes out and does have a bang up season, everybody else will be thinking, yeah, that's crazy that this guy's unsponsored. So. Yeah, I guess the proof will have to be in the pudding. We'll see what he can do, and we'll have to see what hair color he does it with.
Ooh, that's a great question.
So many questions.
A guy who doesn't have to worry about a hair color?
Because he bleeds. No. Red and blue.
Red and blue. The
DGPT colors.
I wasn't going there, but that's fine. He's got a full set. He's got a full head of hair, but it's covered up right now. Our Disc Golf Pro Tour CEO?
Yep.
Mr. Jeff Spring. Welcome back to the show, Jeff.
Great to be back. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
yes.
You sound great.
You can. Great. You've had some travels today. Where are you? And wait, never mind. Don't answer. I've got a Twitter account that's following it, just like Elon and Taylor's jets. I've got a Twitter account following you around. Where are you though? Tell the rest of the world.
I'm honored, but I'm also creeped out.
As you should be.
No, I'm in Orlando and headed to Brooksville tomorrow. So. Excited to kick off the year, and a little longer in New York than I expected because there's a lot of snow.
Yeah, they had an epic snowstorm that flew through New York the last day or so. So kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was definitely crazy, but I got through it, and at least I got here tonight. I wasn't sure for a minute there because we had a lot of delays.
Now, you don't go to every event anymore. Like, you're not at every single Pro Tour event. How do you decide which ones? Clearly, this is the opener. Right. This is the all-star event. I think it makes sense for you to be there to kind of open the tour as well as the chess.com, which is a new event. How do you decide which events you're going to go to in that now?
Yeah, so in 2019, obviously, hit the road for the remainder of those events. But in 2020 through 2022, I was in an RV, kind of touring for 9 months pretty consistently. I always made it back to Vermont early enough to prepare for the GMC. But then in 2023, it was my first year not in a vehicle for 9 months, which proved to be helpful with doing, some of the CEO elements of the job versus the tour director stuff. Phil DeLaunay is our assistant tour director. He's on the road. Kind of filling in my shoes, but we also have Brian and Christine, Evan Spur. We've got a big crew on the road. So A director is always going to be at one of our events, and I choose mine by, the ones that I've helped develop or I have a stake in, or that the DGPT helps run, or if it's a new event and we're checking out a venue, but sometimes we'll go before that. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but I'm going to be in Austin. I'm going to be at Waco. I'm going to be at Portland. Going to make a trip to Europe. My plan is Estonia. And then of course the GMC, I don't know if I'll go to like Deagla or Ledgestone. But I'm probably like 20 weeks this year. It's looking like a little less than last year. But I'm trying to get married this year as well. So
congratulations. That's great.
I'm trying to make that happen.
Is that public knowledge, or did you just break that on the show?
Well, he's been trying for the last 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's longer than that, but it's not like, not public, but it's it's in June and I'll be in Vermont. So I'll be back after the Portland Open for that. But I think it's going to be a good schedule of travel this year. And, I don't know if this will be basically the norm for me, but we'll see going forward.
Now, speaking of travel, with you being in Orlando, just for some geography, that's about an hour and 15 east of where Brooksville is. A lot of people kind of say, "Where's Brooksville?" We hear of, the Tallahassees and the Miamis and the Orlandos. Brooksville is about an hour 15-ish to the west of Orlando. For anyone wondering, how many times have you visited that property, or what have those conversations, even if you have or haven't visited, what have some of those conversations with the Macbeth, Dylan Cease crew and everyone else? What's that prep work been like for these next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I visited way back in the day once, just kind of swinging through playing personally. And I've been up to date on kind of the progression of the property. I know that it was up for sale, and then there was interest, and basically before I think that property was even purchased, there were some discussions about what the future could be. I know it's the highest rated course in Florida, and it has a high standing, and it's kind of been this temporary activation by Mike Barnett in the past, and it definitely deserves a full run. So we're really excited to get it on tour. It's been almost the Silver Series, but a perennial A tier. So many competitive rounds. Obviously, watched a lot of disc golf guy coverage over the years of the event, and I think that the purchase by Dylan and Paul was certainly with a mind to elevate the course. In talks with Mike in the past, the really only thing really holding it back was kind of the temporary status of it, and tees. And Terry, you probably know that pretty well, that the tees have been, you got to invest in because there's basically a lot of rock right under the surface of the ground there. And so it's hard to put permanent tees in. So that's been a big project, I know, for the team on the ground. And, I'm excited to be back and see what the layout is shaping up into, but got a lot of trust in the team on the ground, and excited to finally get it on. It's been a lot of talks through the years, and a lot of players have a lot of respect for the course, and I think it's going to be a great addition.
How excited are you to have chess.com as a new sponsor? I mean, because they're brand new to the tour. We've seen other outside endemic, whatever. What's the opposite of endemic? I don't know. Outside sponsors come into the tour, but chess.com was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, non-endemic is I think Sean usually says non-endemic, so I'll go with that. But, I mean, we're thrilled. It's a big company. I found out a lot more about it after the Macbeth Foundation, kind of introduced the concept that they were one of the finalists in the sweepstakes of title. I think it's great that they've got a leadership team that knows and loves the sport. I think there's a lot of crossover potential. I've played chess personally since I was a kid, but I think hopefully it'll introduce a lot of disc golfers to try it out. And the website and user base of chess.com is incredible. It's a great site. I've been checking it out since I found out about the potential, and I think that it's great for the sport. It's great for us, and thankful that the event team has brought them in.
The opposite of endemic, universal. There we go.
Okay.
I just looked it up.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
So
maybe we'll go with that instead of non-endemic.
I'll call Sean about that. We'll get that going.
Yeah. You tell him how to be a better salesman. Let me know how that goes. Well, I know we're going to, of course, talk about a lot of the Disc Golf Network details and whatnot, but one more question with regard, obviously, the All-Star Weekend is coming up in just a few days now. A lot of excitement around it. I guess like a couple questions relating to it, but the first is, do we foresee most or all of the action taking place right there on the course? What's kind of the strategy there, and then how does that translate and relate to spectators and tickets and what's still available or not? Like, give us kind of the lowdown on that from what you know.
Yeah, tickets are still available. Just around the corner from the course, there's a property that we're going to be doing the skills competition on. It's also where we're going to be parking the majority of spectators. There is parking on the course, but we're trying to reserve that for staff, volunteers, players, or staff and volunteers will get shuttled over from the parking lot around the corner. So on Friday, wherever you come to park as a spectator, you'll be right there for the skills competition, and there'll be some shuttles running to the course, dropping people off. If you're in the Florida area, certainly still an opportunity to grab some tickets to All-Star Weekend. I think that chess.com is getting close because there's kind of a low cap on that with the course being pretty tight, and ticket sales have been going great, especially early on. I think that the pre-sale sold out, and I think VIP may be close. So get them while they're hot. But that's kind of the lay of the land, and everything's pretty close there. Like you said, it's an hour and 15 from Orlando, but a little closer to Tampa. I think it's like 45 an hour, depending on where you are in Tampa. So I think everything's like pretty centralized around the course, and there's Brooksville, but then also the town next to it, I think is blanking on the name, but it's
Inverness.
It's a little bit bigger than Brooksville.
Crystal River. Inverness, those are kind of in that territory, in that general range.
Yeah, there's a couple over there.
Yeah. So, and that answers a great question that anyone that's watched some of the coverage or has thought about is, I think of a distance competition. As amazing as that course is, there's not really a lot of holes out there that would be like, hey, go ahead and just throw 600 or 700 or 800 feet in any given direction, or even in a controlled direction. Like that course still requires quite a bit of gaps and lines to hit, and so having it over in a adjacent property makes a lot more sense. I think that was a fair question for a lot of people, saying how can they do it out there?
How's that going to work?
Yeah, exactly. So and again, Macbeth was, I think, even here on the show talking about how parking lot, things of that nature are all part of the overall structural, upgrades and enhancements that are all going to be taking place out at that property. And there's just only so much room to work with at the moment. So good to hear the strategy with people getting in and out of there, and where they're going to park and all of that. So back-to-back weekends should be pretty exciting to be out there. And I do like that we're going to see, some people have complained maybe or said they don't want to see golf on the same course 2 weekends in a row. With this being a slightly different layout and an all-star event, I kind of like that there's going to be a little bit more lighthearted nature to it, to give us a good warm-up, to get people used to the course that haven't seen it.
I want some good smack talk.
To then, I'm not gonna lie, then see it the following weekend. I kind of like that it warms us up to that course. So that should be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And having a safari layout with 9 holes on repeat, I think it'll give you the lay of the land, but there'll still be, something to come back for, at chess.com to see the 18-hole layout, the competition layout. So I'm not familiar with the safari layout, so I'm excited to see that tomorrow and see what that's all about. Seen it on paper, on the scorecards and stuff and the prep, but looks like it should be pretty fun. I know that there's a lot of fun shots to be had out there. So I think it's going to be entertaining. And Johnny, of course, we got Missy already, kind of filling the void of smack talk that you might be missing. So I've already seen some comments.
Sweet. All right. So speaking of seeing and watching, the big news that I woke up to today, Johnny and I did not know any of this was coming, any of these intimate details at least. A big structural, I don't want to call it an overhaul, but some enhancements and clarifications and opportunities that we're seeing on the Disc Golf Network. Where in the world does this conversation, how and where does it even get started in terms of what you're doing to fulfill the subscribers' needs? Because now we have 3 different tiers. So kind of walk us through that thought process.
Sure. We've been hoping to be able to implement tiers for a while. And this kind of starts with acquiring media rights to 2 of the biggest events in the sport, USDGC and European Open. So in order to acquire those media rights, initially, working with UC and Jonathan, it was basically the pay-per-view model. And we really had to try that out and put our best foot forward. And, I think the first few years of USDGC, it was pay-per-view only on a separate service. So, when we took it over, it's been kind of working into our subscription. But we do have pretty exorbitant, costs. The events are valuable. They've grown over the years. They drive a lot of viewership, and excitement and value. And those events want to keep investing in their events, right? So they need to find a way to create revenue, whether it's their own pay-per-view service like USDGC kind of piloted back in the day, or selling media rights to someone who wants to broadcast it like the Disc Golf Network. It's expensive for us, but it's providing value and resources to grow for those event teams. So that said, we need to figure out a way to, put those in a separate category. We've been trying to do that. We've also thought about keeping them. We've kind of tried to merge them and integrate them. We just didn't have the tools with our previous provider that we have now to implement tiers, which we feel like is the best way to do this. And, certainly the switch to AWS and Insys gave us the technical capabilities to have an elegant solution for subscribers to be able to, upgrade easily, downgrade back to standard. And then in looking at the PDGA element, we have in our contract 5 events that we basically give them live access to, as well as some other features. So it's easiest to actually handle the PDGA members by giving them kind of a platform and a tier of their own. So that was the concept of basic. So really to serve, and if you're a PDGA member, you can have that basic subscription for free. If you go on and just connect your PDGA number, it's free. Just you become a DGN subscriber and you get some content. Then if you want to upgrade, it will automatically, recognize that you're a PDGA member, give you that discount, and you're off and running. But, I think where we started with the upper tier was the USDGC and the European Open, basically trying to create a way to get some ROI on a substantial investment. But then we, invested in developing pre-game, halftime, post-game, tournament central. We've invested in our broadcast and secondary streams, bringing a bigger team into the control room, being able to handle more cameras. And, we're looking for a way to, get a return on that investment over time. So, we felt like we got to a place where we could offer enough of the secondary streams. You may have noticed that we're going to try to do some second commentary teams as well, kind of like Manning cast-ish. And we'll see how that goes. We're going to try to keep adding to that. We obviously, the quality upgrades, the live DVR, that's across all tiers. But in terms of the pro tier, we felt like we had enough here that, hey, we've invested, we've upgraded. All of that will benefit the quality of the stream that is part of DGN standard, which we've been growing over the years and will continue to grow. But then, even Tournament Central post game, like the things that, that like just hardcore fans really want to see. When we pair that up with a little bit of content, we feel like it's a great offering and a great way to, we also get asked by fans, how do we help grow? So we think a lot of the big time supporters will go there, but really everyone will be renewed on standard for the same price with upgraded features and over 90% of the content that we had last year. So really it's almost a full return other than the USDGC and European Open with upgrades. And yeah, I guess that's kind of the summary I would throw at you, but happy to take any other specific questions on it too.
And so for those of you that maybe
it's
are
a lot
out
of info.
It is a lot of info. And for those of you that maybe are out of the loop, I'll quick break it down. There's DGN Basic, which, as he said, as a PDGA member, you get for free.
Current PDGA member.
Yes, as a current PDGA member. DGN Standard, which is kind of what you were saying. That's more or less what we got last year, minus the two majors, and then the DGN Pro, which I think is overlooked a couple things. You get it's allowed on up to 3 different devices, which you can go into your settings and disallow devices. So if you happen to have 2 Rokus like I do, one upstairs, one downstairs, I'm bougie like that.
Damn.
A phone,
quit flexing,
and your laptop, maybe because you're watching it at work. Who know? Not that anybody does that.
No,
but you can go into your settings and disable different devices. But also 2 free general admission tickets to a DGPT event. And those are anywhere from like $60 to $90, depending on the event, maybe, and what you're doing. I guess how many people do you think are going to take advantage of that, or how many people even know about it?
Well, we hope everybody that becomes a pro subscriber will take advantage of it. There's other discounts that you have in there, whether it's to the DGPT, retail, Jomez Pro.
20% off. That's if you buy enough, that's a great deal.
Yeah, and so it's kind of designed for, super fan, to actually give them more value if they are a big fan of the tour and want to watch everything and want to see everything. And, a lot of, we watch, the viewership of Tournament Central and the second streams. And we know not a ton of people necessarily are watching those, but it's growing in popularity as it grows in quality. So as you do that, I think, that standard isn't necessarily the folks that, make up the vast majority of our subscribership aren't necessarily going to be moved to watch all the extras or take advantage of all these benefits. But we do feel like, the super fans will, and it'll actually pay off, if you are that fan that wants to come out to an event that shops and reps the brand and loves Disc Golf Network, loves the Pro Tour. I think it'll pay off. Probably, you'll make your money back for sure. So
and on the complimentary streams, the second stream experience or second screen experience, as you called it, like the kind of like a Manning cast, as a lot of people are knowing it. You're going to have disc golf personalities, or maybe non-disc golf personalities, jump in and talk about that. I don't think any announcements have been made yet as far as who's doing it, but those will probably be announced in the next
not
couple
yet,
weeks.
But it will be kind of, probably similar to the Manning cast, maybe like talking heads, watching the broadcast, commentating on the broadcast, but not necessarily calling the shots, I don't think. Like if you want to have a traditional commentary experience, you'd watch the broadcast. But if you just want, general, kind of a lighter, looser, a little bit untied experience, I think that's what we're going for there, and we'll have some announcements in the future on that.
And I want to go through a couple of maybe the misconceptions that I've been seeing. The thing says the release talks about the Jomez coverage. It's like ad free with the Pro subscription. The Jomez next day YouTube is not going away at all, is it?
No. It's just returning as normal.
It's returning as normal with ads. That's the difference with the YouTube ads, the burnt-in ads. The Pro will get you the Jomez stuff without any ads. So post-production is still post-production. There's no changes this year to that at all. I just want to be really clear, because those are some of the things that I saw. People are like, oh, they're taking away the Jomez. It's like, nope. Post-production staying the same. We've got Jomez next day coverage. That's right. That's one thing.
Yeah.
It's funny, all of the things that you read that people are misconception. So the other thing I want to talk about is just the general day one YouTube coverage, the live stuff. Are we still going to see the day one YouTube? Because the basic model, the free model, it says first round of all DGPT events and select PDGA Pro majors. And then it gives the couple events, the 5 or 6 events, where you get the full coverage. So what's happening with the day one YouTube stuff?
Yeah, day one will be on YouTube almost every event, if not every event. So, we are putting up post-production, and we'll include YouTube information in that next week with the post-production plan. So that'll clarify some of the questions that I've seen as well. But overall, we're basically just doing run and back last year. So it will be YouTube day one. And then after that, there'll be, some clips and highlights. We'll bring back the highlights. So I think that if you were a fan last year, you won't see a big change in the experience. Just some more exciting features if you want to jump up to pro. But if you're coming back at standard and you want to watch USDGC and European Open, you actually can upgrade just for that month and then downgrade again if you wanted to. And just try out the pro subscription if you want to see European Open and USDGC during those months, and then downgrade. But yeah, I think other than that, it's not unchanged, but it'll be very familiar to most people.
And I think that's overlooked a lot as well, what you said, the upgrading and downgrading. So you can be a standard subscriber and then come September 30th or whatever, do your upgrade for the extra, well, we'll just say $7 to $8 a month for the final month, and then get October as a pro subscriber. I think I saw someone do the math, and they said, if you really wanted to, follow it very closely, you can get away with getting almost everything, but more or less, for about $68 for the year. If you're a PDGA member and you subscribe in February or whatever, and then you only want to watch live.
Yeah, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's not my problem, Terry.
Because I just bought a $500 Ricky Wysocki cart, so I can't afford it.
I can't. Well, listen, Terry, when you've got the Apple Vision goggles like I do, then I'm going to watch it all in 3D.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to find a way.
It's very economical.
Johnny, you're not. You're also not supposed to tell people how to get the best deal. No, I'm just kidding.
No. I understand,
but you're right. No, people can figure out. We do want people to, that want to look for the best deal to know that it's pretty much going to be the same, if not a little bit more than last year, to get the same package. But you're going to have some upgraded functionality, live DVR, some quality upgrades
exactly.
that we're excited to roll out. So I think that overall, I don't know. It's not too much different, but there's just a new option, for people that want more. I think we're excited to see how that goes. We haven't put a lot of specific goals on that. Obviously we got to do some budget projections and that kind of stuff, but I expect a good chunk of people to take us up on it, at least, on a monthly basis and try it out. But I mean, if people want to, go and upgrade and downgrade, I mean, the functionality that Insys has built, I feel like has been working well and has been pretty elegant. And Vimeo couldn't even deliver that for us, for several years of trying. So, it's more of a custom build, and that's the exciting switch here, is that we're in more control of like where the future of features and development of the Disc Golf Network UI, UX, and the app and the functionality and some of the technical specs. That's all in our hands now, and so we're going to be able to invest. Whereas we felt that there was kind of like one size fits all, and we had to kind of lobby and motivate our previous provider to implement some feature upgrades that we really wanted, but they said, does this matter for everybody? We've got thousands of clients. Now it's a little bit more custom, and we feel like that's gonna bear fruit over time. Obviously we want to get it off the ground. We know there's probably going to be some hurdles and some challenges, but at the end of the day, I think the future's brighter with the change in provider.
Jeff's not going to say it, so I will. It was like pulling teeth with Vimeo sometimes and dealing with them. I understand, Jeff, you have to be the way you are, but I get to be the way I am. And it was they were great at some things and awful at others. And that's what you deal with. So it's
and I think we had a lot of success with them. You can't deny that. They were we overcame a lot of challenges. I think we pushed them, and they responded great in some cases and not great in others. But at the end of the day, we're it's our brand in front of the customer. So, we want to make sure that we have more control to, for better or for worse, hopefully for better, but to push things forward.
So speaking of throwing blame around, you read on the internet, which we talked about as so glorious earlier, but you read, as usual, people are mad, but they don't even know where to be mad, right? Or whom to be mad at. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of that gets even very quickly just misguided and misplaced. I read both camps, at least two of the camps, which are, I'm really frustrated with those events, those two in particular, the European Open and the USDGC.
Which they probably weren't waking up at that time to watch the European Open anyway, but okay.
And then on the flip side, and people mad at those events for what you just said, protecting their rights, protecting their investments, wanting more. I'm mad at that greed. And then the very opposite was, well, I'm not mad at those events. I'm mad at DGPT for charging more for them. So I guess my question is, like, how do you answer when somebody's, one person, 50% might be mad at one side and 50% are mad at the other? Like, how do you navigate and answer to those people in terms of what they're being so mad about? Like, what do you say to them?
I think that we like to be transparent, about our thinking and the reason behind things. And other than laying that out and giving the reasoning behind it, I don't know that there's much to say. I want, people to, and our brand wants people to enjoy live disc golf coverage. But, at the end of the day, we want to also be able to be sustainable and keep going. And I don't think, I think that it makes perfect sense, being in the industry and understanding that whether it's the event or it's the Disc Golf Pro Tour or the Disc Golf Network, like all of this is just going back in to trying to grow and up the bar and popularize the sport. And I know that depending on who you are in disc golf, you might not care about that. If you're just a player, I started playing disc golf in Vermont and the PDGA wasn't even really relevant. There was just people that love playing disc golf and people would complain about paying, the $10, and get mad at TDs for sanctioning events. So I think that it kind of goes all the way back to that type of sentiment, and that's not going to go away from disc golf. I think that counterculture, and, grassroots volunteerism is an important part of the game. And what comes along with that are fans and constituents that, aren't, wanting to see disc golf necessarily, kind of popularize or grow as a business or even have a business side. And I respect that. I understand that. It's just not the position that our businesses are in. So, I think we're sensitive to it. We don't want to gouge people. We want to be reasonable. We think we are reasonable. So I think what we do is make our case based on, letting people know and understand the growth of our business, understand why we're doing the things that we're doing, and understanding if they say, hey, no thanks, and that said, we feel like we've made decisions that the vast majority of folks that are interested in live coverage are with us and subscribe. We know that the subscribers, continue to grow, and we want to balance it. We want to make sure that there's a good deal. I think the idea of $5.99 a month for standard for PDGA members, and you get a lot of content, and it's a niche sport. And I know people compare it to other services too. But the thing
MLB
is
Jeff,
that
MLB, I get like 1,000 games, and it costs me only like 140, or I don't even know what MLB Network was this year, but it's so funny the comparisons that people throw out there, like
right. And but the thing is that we, if we're not broadcasting it, it's not necessarily going to be the volume or the depth of the growth or the number of cameras, and we're trying to push to keep bringing things on. Like we. Ideally, next year, we'll have a switched and commentated second stream at every single event. That's a goal I'd like to see, is that, you're watching and hearing, and that means all day during those events, you got FPO and then switch over to the second stream and hear the broadcaster talk about the feature holes or the feature cards, and then go to the MPO stream. And that's like a whole day, of coverage. That takes a lot of people and a lot of equipment, and you guys know. So, yeah, but I think that I'm sensitive. I want to please everyone. So I'm sensitive to that criticism coming from both sides. But I would say that, we have great partners in the European Open, the USDGC. Those events are worth it. I think that what we're doing is better than providing, than maybe not, making the media buy, and then somebody has to go pay pay-per-view separately off the Disc Golf Network, or there's got to be some, you got to, if we're not engaged in strong partnerships with those events, there's going to be a different outcome. What we wanted to do is say, if you want to subscribe, you get everything, and that's the pro subscription, and you can do the standard and get almost everything, and be pretty happy, and then just go up a month if you decide you want to watch it, and then go back down. So
I do recommend everybody try out the pro subscription for 1 month. I mean, it's pretty cheap whether you wait all the way till October. I think you should do it earlier for whatever, because there is going to be a lot of really cool things, some things that I was surprised to see, just like looking at the ad-free round one, where I know obviously one of the complaints we've gotten forever is why am I watching ads? So to see the DGPT and the DGN start to dip their toe into this like second stream of ad free it's a big step. Any particular reason why it's just the first round and not all the rounds? I know that was some of the talk, or is this just more of a trial and error thing because it's the first season?
Yeah, a little bit of a trial and error. We wanted to, provide an enhanced value versus, because we are going to be streaming live on YouTube versus like the free stream, right? So, and we want to see, obviously we get a lot of partners, and we want to see the numbers come in on the first year, how many people are watching there, and then see if the technology works well enough. And then, I do anticipate expanding that in the future. And yeah, I think, if it goes well, we got a bright future for that. We're also working on, server side ad insertion, which probably doesn't mean a lot to people, but that would allow us to work with, ad agencies kind of outside of the sport, non-endemic, if you will.
Universal.
Yeah, universal. Universal. Oh goodness. And then, like we could, basically, use our demographics more than just, disc golf business, looking for disc golfers to, integrate new partners. And so, that's something that we're excited about. Also with the AWS connection, we're hopeful to distribute media, kind of, through maybe their channels eventually as well. So there's a lot of things that we can do technology wise, and AWS has been, great for sports. They're involved in, kind of the data, the analysis, the technology structures behind sports broadcasting. Most notably, I think in the Super Bowl, right? They do next gen stats, and talking to those guys, it's interesting to know a little bit more behind that, and a lot of their data and what they do informs a lot of the coaching decisions, like that you even see, like whether to go for it on fourth down. I think we just saw some controversy over, whether to kick it or receive it in overtime in the Super Bowl. And there's a lot of AWS info informing that kind of stuff. And I got to go to a conference, and they told me the way they do it is they put RFID chips in the shoulder pads, the helmet, and the football. At all NFL games. So they have to like get in there early. And so, I don't know, maybe someday we'll have chips in the discs giving us information about, the flight, the spin, projected path, because I know they work with the PGA Tour. And I was able to see kind of their shot tracker, kind of behind the scenes, how they do walking scoring, ShotLink Pro, at one of the events last year. And it's pretty cool. They can project where the golf ball is going to land within like 6 inches before it lands there, like after it comes off the club face. So I think that there's a lot of potential. We want to engage with our new partners and hopefully bring step-by-step new technology in. Ad-free, hopefully, is one of them, server-side ad insertion. But first, we just want to get it off the ground and troubleshoot any issues that happen, because I'm sure we'll have issues, and we'll get commentary on that as well. But hopefully not too many.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be issues just with a new platform, and that kind of brings me to my next question. There's a lot of change this year with the DGPT and the broadcast. We've got a new partner for stats. We've gone with the DGPT and a new broadcast, INSYS. What are you most worried about coming to the season? And on top of that, what are you most excited about coming into the season?
Those could be the same.
Yeah, they could be.
Yeah, maybe they are. So I'm excited to be working with Statmando, more in the PDGA on live scores and stats. That said, we've been working with Matt and Josh since 2015 with the tour in development and then implementation in 2016. So it's a long-term partnership. And I think, not being there, with the UDIS guys is definitely less comfortable. That said, we have a lot of confidence in the PDGA's product and what we've seen behind the scenes. And they kind of brought it to us when they said, hey, listen, we've been working on this and we want to use it for majors. And then so we said, okay, before we do that, we got to check it and see how it works. And had a third party come in and verify their tech timeline and where they're at, and said, okay, yeah, we can do this. And that kind of, I explained this a little earlier on the upshot, so I won't rehash everything, but that kind of led us to the outcome of implementing that for DGPT as well. But I would say, we love the UDIS guys, and, we know that they've got a lot on their plate with the app and development of that. And that's like 95% of their business. So their opportunity cost and continuing development there is probably makes more sense for them. At least it seems that way. So I think that, that transition will be important, but confident in it. It's funny because they are two big projects, Johnny. And, at the same time, I feel like we've done our due diligence. We've worked hard. The team has been really engaged and working hard on it. And, I guess I couldn't ask for more other than we got to deploy it and see what we need to troubleshoot. And I'm confident that it'll go smoothly and be a great product, whether it's DGN 2.0 or PDGA and Statmando powering, the new scores and stats. The great thing is that we're going to have it on Disc Golf Pro Tour, DGPT.com, starting at chess.com, which we've always wanted. We wanted to not have to link out to UDisc, even though it's a great experience and it's been a great resource for fans of the game. We also wanted to host scores and stats on our own platform too. And, I think it's going to be a great opportunity to, kind of modernize and popularize scores and stats for disc golf if we are able to distribute scores and stats just like we want to do for media, which is broader to more people and to more eyeballs, get them watching disc golf.
So whether it's, I guess generically I would say, with Disc Golf Network and the changes, the upgrades, the updates, the tiers, all of that, obviously a huge task or continued task that hopefully goes smoothly. But if it doesn't, where do you direct people? Some people even in the chat have said, how do I do this? How do I do that? What do you feel like is the customer support process, all of that? Where would you point people, whether it's their billing, customer support, and or PDGA related stuff? Where do those individual questions and challenges, how do they get addressed? Because I get calls. I get calls and emails.
We all get calls and emails.
Hey, my account. I God bless so many fans, but I get them all the time. Hey, my account doesn't do this, and I'm like, hey, I am 9 steps removed from even knowing the right person to point to. So that's why I want you to share it.
Yeah, so we have a customer support team that's built out with Disc Golf Network, and that takes support tickets in. So you just got to shoot an email to Disc Golf Network support, and they'll help you out. In terms of scoring and stats, I mean, the PDGA has been operating live scoring for a long time now, hole by hole scoring. They've upgraded to shot by shot, which will debut this weekend at All-Star. and then will be on PDGA Live and Disc Golf Pro Tour websites, going forward. We'll be in the PDGA Live app as well. I think that scores are going to be, certainly there, right? So because they do so many events every weekend. So, if there's any issues with shot by shot, we're going to troubleshoot and get that resolved as quickly as possible. But I don't know, other than, registering a complaint, if there's, much you can do with scores and stats. But we're obviously very confident. I mean, we've done the official live scorecard, the official scorecard of the Disc Golf Pro Tour since 2022 has been PDGA Live. So we've been, that's not going to be any different, really. The one thing is that instead of shot by shot, which powers a lot of the statistics on UDisc, PDGA Live has implemented shot by shot, and then that's going to be able to power the graphics in the back end. And I think that one thing I mentioned earlier, but I want to reiterate now, is that I think one thing that's going to be really cool is that the walking scorers, who the local organizing committees, the event teams, the DGPT all work to recruit and train and implement the statisticians on the course. So, that's kind of in our wheelhouse. We're going to keep doing that. When they input scores and stats, they're going to be able to select distances for every shot. Now, certainly in putting, people will notice, because putting stats, you kind of always notice it's like 5 or 16 or 27, right? Like when some
ranges.
So now that can toggle. Exactly. It's not necessarily it's not going to be a range. Now, I've worked a little bit on the back end with inputting, and so scorers or players, if they're keeping stats, could pick a range. But I think more people will be precise, and we're working on kind of training instructions to use that, especially on the putting green. But even off the tee, you can say, hey, this far from the hole. So I think it's gonna help power the information getting back to the booth quicker. Terry, you're going to be calling a bunch of events, and you're going to
be smarter.
See that? What? Yeah, no. Terry's going to seem smarter, everyone, which is
I've tried that for
almost
years.
Impossible to fathom. But
tried it for years, doesn't work.
Okay, well, yeah, that is very exciting. It's funny because in talking with Josh. Well, when some of this UDisc news broke, one of the things he chimed in with was saying, like, initially UDisc was, essentially down to the foot, and that was somewhat difficult for a lot of the early volunteers to pick up on, and some of the intricacies there. But then he followed up and said, that's also before anyone knew what in the world C1 or C2 was. Like, so
long time ago.
The fact that we're kind of revisiting some of the prior ideas, but now with so much more familiarity and with so much more comfort, is kind of cool as well. It's all been part of the evolution in what we're talking about. It's kind of funny that way. So, well, it will be
volunteer training is a task. It's
sure.
Hard. And so like the ranges make things easier. So, there's going to be some pitfalls, but I think it's time. We do have a lot of returning and experienced volunteers who are capable and can, players can go in and edit, and request updates and that kind of stuff if something's wrong statistically. So, I think it's time. It's exciting to know that we're going to have a little bit more granularity deployed.
Sure. And now what was my thought to follow that up on? Yes. But one of the questions is, this year, one of the big rule implementations is that we're seeing that all players are to be responsible for keeping their own scores, that them and or their caddy or whomever, their support person. What have those? How do you feel like that's going to go? I guess is the best thing, because as we often see, 4 guys usually get to the tee and it's like, oh, not me. They all claim that they're not about to do any kind of scoring.
My phone's dead.
Yeah, and they have all these reasons and excuses and whatever. Now we're talking about all 4 being responsible to do their own. What's been the anticipation from the Pro Tour in that regard, if any?
Yeah, I mean, well, we were part of the process of kind of the back and forth on rules development this year, which was great. We didn't get everything we wanted here. I think we were hoping to go to 2 players And the concept was that we would provide devices where you couldn't request a paper card because you're being provided a digital card by us. And then, as you know, when you keep score digitally, it flags any issues or any discrepancies. So then you kind of eliminate any scoring errors or conflicts right away, adds it up, correctly, obviously, and then you're off and running. And so the concept is there's going to be two players and or caddies. It's expensive, and doubling that budget for a ton of devices, we decided against that. And so I think some players will choose paper scorecards. And I think hopefully a lot will choose to use their devices. I think, caddies having the ability to score for the player, being an extension of the player, I think is really important to this. We have tried this in the past on the Pro Tour. We said in 2022 to start the year, everyone has to score. And I think even back in 2016, I went to the European Masters, one of the first events in the Disc Golf World Tour, and every player had a binder and had the live score. And then every 9 holes, there would be someone uploading that live score, or 6 holes, something like that, right? You probably remember that, Terry. But
do something similar, yep.
Right. Yeah. And so on those, so it's been implemented before. And in 2022, what I found happening is that players would get to the end of the round and we'd say, you all got to turn in a scorecard. And then at least 1 or 2 people from a group would copy down all the scores on a scorecard at that moment in time. And so we had to kind of troubleshoot that. And then we eventually said, hey, we're not going to try to enforce this. We're going to try to stop that from happening. We want players to actually keep score during the round, implementing this on a hole by hole basis. And, we're going to see if we can accomplish that. But I think at the very least, we want to see 2 digital scores. So we know that, kind of throughout the round, there's no discrepancies, which is a great feature.
And speaking of discrepancies, I think that one of maybe the overlooked things that we're going to see, will the stat keepers scores do you know if they'll look at the players' scores and check for discrepancies? Because we've seen in the past where someone goes to UDisc and the score is off by 1, but PDGA Live was correct, or vice versa. Do you know if the stat keeper is going to will it sync up with them and say, oh no, how come you have a 4 when someone else has a 3?
Yeah, this is great. So it will sync up, but when it flags an error, it will only, so you identify yourself either as a player or a statistician, right? Cool. So if you're logged in as a statistician, it will flag if your score is a discrepancy with anyone else keeping score, but it will not flag it to the player. It will just flag it to you. So it won't freak any players out, right? If a player and a player have a discrepancy, it will flag it to both of them. And so they'll have to resolve that. But if a statistician is flagged, they're going to be aware of it. And then, they can hopefully resolve that in a way that aligns with disc golf etiquette at the professional level. And so, hopefully tactfully, when there's a break in play and, be able to correct it or let the players know, hey, is this correct? And that kind of is a natural process that's happened through the years with when we were using UDisc as well.
And it brings up one last thing about kind of quality of life. One of the things that people just instinctively knew was udisclive.com. Mm-hmm. Do you know, for the DGPT, is that going to be front page? When I go to dgpt.com, is it going to be right there for the scores? Or are we going to get a subdomain like live.dgpt.com or something along those lines that...
shop.thediscgolfguy.com.
Yeah, something like that, Jerry. Whatever the subdomain is. Is it going to be something along those lines that we're easily going to be able to remember, that I can break the habit of trying to type in UDisc Live on my fingers?
Yeah, I think it's just dgpt.com/scores, and it'll come up. Starting at chess.com.
Yeah.
For the All-Star, and in fact, not all of our All-Stars have actually been scored on UDisc because there are some special formats and that kind of stuff, but that will just be on PDGA Live for All-Star. on chess.com. We'll be debuting the landing page on DGPT, but it will be part of the website. It won't like link you out. And then, eventually we'll have a bug where, when there is scoring live, you'll see the leaderboard as a bug on the homepage. And then you can just click there and go right into scores and stats. I don't think that that's debuting for chess.com, but I think that bug hopefully will be there within a few tournaments. But don't quote me on it. I know it's coming.
So with everything that we've just talked about in terms of upgrades, options, feedback, everything else, and things you're excited for, what would you say is the biggest thing in the off season that was a direct, I don't want to say rebuttal, a direct response to the player base, to the tour card holders, to our regular players on tour, whether they're been politely suggesting or barking, whatever, and everywhere in between, what would you say, if there's anything, is the biggest piece of feedback you've implemented in 2024?
I would have to go to the schedule, something we haven't even talked about.
Sure. Okay.
But, the structure of the tour was based primarily out of player feedback. We've taken silver events off the table. And I think the refrain we've heard, for the past couple of years is that there's so many events, we have to play so much, we can't take a break. And, our operations team and our leadership of the tour, has considered that and then said as a response, not all these scores count. You can select your schedule. Well, I think that we've come around to the player perspective. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll get more information this year and keep evolving. But that there's pressure to play, when points are on the line. Especially if you're trying to get up into the playoffs or trying to get up into the Tour Championship, trying to make an impact. The thought is this going to be my week? I can't really sit it out. I had a bad performance last week, and that puts pressure on their bodies, right? And we have Seth Munsey as our director of sports performance, works with the players all the time, kind of implements a telehealth system, training system for the players. And so he's really been a loud advocate saying, you just have to take opportunities for points off the table or just mandate a rest week. Now, if they still want to go play A tiers, they can. And I see that happen all the time. Disc golf never stops, right? There is no real off season. People can go and play every week of the year. Some people do. But, I think that taking points off the table will really take pressure off. It also helps us focus on DGPT events, full-blown DGPT events. And we were able to up that level. And the flow of the tour, I think we really miss and love starting in the Southwest, but coming from the Southwest to the Southeast back across is just an extra trip. So whether we start maybe we'll start in the Southwest sometime in the future, some other time, I don't know how things will go, but concept of just one, reducing the overall miles, because we feel that also as a company too. We have a lot of people on the road, just like, I think we got 200 plus people between tour card players, media teams, staff that are full-time touring, and it's expensive, and how much the gas is going to cost. And we're taking, that cost down this year because of the overall miles. So I think I would point to that, Terry, as kind of the main, kind of player-driven thing.
Well, and then I guess that kind of just feeds right into another announcement that we didn't even talk about, I think, since last week, because I think it was just announced, or maybe we did briefly. Mm-hmm. The Q school or the Q series. Give us your give us your quick take on that. I don't even think we got a chance to discuss it yet.
We might not have, yeah.
Yeah, so we've kind of elevated more DGPT full events or elite events, and we've kind of taken silver events and downgraded them. So there's the Q series. It's 8 events currently in a championship, and you take your best 3, and you can qualify for that championship or finale. It's technically a finale. It's not a championship. So the Q series finale, that would be like the Q school moment because of the PGA Tour. they have a Q school, and they hand out tour cards to winners of the event there. This will be similar. We won't have a school, but it will just be a finale event in November, late November, and you either qualify through playing the Q series throughout the year, or if you've missed your tour card. So top, I think, top 80 or 90 and 45 this year in tour card standings will get their tour cards. And then, from there, if you've missed it, if you're above that, you'll automatically qualify for the finale. And then if you come in top 3 in the finale, MPO, top 2 in FPO, or in the season series, top 3 MPO, top 2 FPO, you will get your tour card for 2025. So this is a way to do it without just trying to find a way onto the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So these events are A tiers. There are A tiers that we've worked with in the past, or we feel like have an opportunity, because it's basically a farm system, right? It's a farm system for the tour, just like the Corn Ferry Tour is for the PGA Tour. Maybe someday the Q Series will have a sponsor and be sustainable for people to go play full time, but we're still working on that with the Disc Golf Pro Tour as much as we can. So but the Q Series is kind of modeled in that Corn Ferry kind of way. We've played around with a lot of models. I know the Premier League is popular for soccer fans, and there's always relegation.
Oh, can we relegate players? I want to relegate. This would be great.
We're not doing that.
We
could, though. I mean, it would be compelling, Johnny, if you knew that the bottom 3, but that would mean that only tour card players could play in tour events. We kind of thought this, and then the bottom 3 go off, and then the top 3 of the other tour come up. It would be compelling. I don't know if we'll get there someday, but right now it's a little bit more PGA Tour than Premier League. So and I think it should be fun to see how it works. I mean, we definitely have a lot of players, pushing, asking, wanting this information, wanting to know what the path to it is. And so, I think we're getting there, where there's a flow from kids disc golf events and PGA Tour events up the ladder, maybe playing on the NADGT, playing in the Q Series, getting your tour card. There's always going to be transcendent talents that just knock the door down, I'm sure, too. So, to play on the tour, you either need a tour card, you can get sponsor exemptions, you can qualify. A lot of events have week of qualifiers now, or regional qualifiers. And then, what we're seeing is that ratings-based tiered registration is kind of becoming obsolete, because there's enough players to fill the events that there's not a lot of open registration spots. So we have to decide in 2025 if what the future of open registration really looks like. If it's just going to fill up a waiting list, and that's where the Q Series comes in, which is also, if you win a Q Series, you get a spot. You win a spot into a Disc Golf Pro Tour event in the next wave. So you can win your way on in season as well.
So then the follow-up to that has to be, especially as we talked about media, live coverage, Silver Series last year, so on and so forth. What's kind of the plan? Because obviously qualifying and playing well at events and also doing it under the pressure of media is a component of your overall process as a player and as a sports person. What's kind of the media plan there for that series?
So we've taken a lot of requirements of the Silver Series and the Silver events off. So really A-tier requirements for these events, plus it's a farm system for these events. So we want to see them get great fields, big purses, big sponsors, and a great media performance as well. Now, we're partners with these events, so we're working with some of them to put post-production teams in place. We may cover some of these events with either DGPT or Jomez, but I know Gatekeeper is covering some events, and that we're connecting some events with, we may have some on Central Coast, Ace Run, GK.
Disc golf guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a couple, I think that the one that's going to be real interesting that we're working with closely is the return to the fort. So there's going to be 3 rounds at the Beehive Classic. Last time we saw shots there, is pretty dramatic. So looking forward to seeing some coverage there, and it probably will be worth the media team's time to get out there and cover it. But looking forward to seeing some Pro Tour action return to Utah.
Sweet. Okay. Well, that's again. When was I feel like that was announced just in the last few days as well.
It might have been
February 8th.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was since our last podcast, and
a couple weeks.
And we hadn't even had a chance. So it was great that we could kind of knock those details out with you as well. Is there anything else that we should be made aware of? I mean, we kind of go down the list of some of the obvious ones, but is there anything else that's in the hopper that we should know about?
We got a few more CBS sports shows coming up. We will have that announcement out soon on which ones per se. Okay. But that's coming down the pipeline, and hopefully growing that relationship even more in the second half of the year. We're going to kind of renegotiate and see. I know that there's been a lot of replays of the CBS sports content we put out there, so I'm excited to hopefully grow that relationship this year. Adam Zucker lent his vocal talents to some of those productions, and he's a great talent for CBS Sports anchoring their college football broadcast. So we're hoping to do more with Adam. And we got a few more tricks up our sleeve. I'll say, DGPT Europe. I haven't been on the Smashbox podcast and talked much about that, but 5 events, and the European Disc Golf Festival is actually already awarded as a major in 2025. And we're gonna have that on Disc Golf Network for the first time this year. Definitely worth checking that out. Week after the European Open in Estonia. I'm excited to go there. Have you been to Estonia, Ter?
Yeah, I went there almost right after the last putt dropped at Worlds this year in Vermont. Okay. I found myself going over to Estonia and playing some golf and checking it out. And in fact, I played at Järvenpää, which was the course that Kristen Tatar got her first ever win. So that was kind of cool. And Estonia is beautiful and amazing, and all these incredible people and everything, and then some, and then a little extra tie and to that little fact of Kristen winning her first ever event at that particular course. Very cool. So well, so excited to see more there.
Yeah, that event team is made up of professionals that know what they're doing. They've got a lot of experience in event production. So we're excited for that one, and growing that relationship, into 2025. Of course, Worlds will be right to the north in Nokia and Tampere, and I'm really excited to have all the events. Copenhagen, amazing city, was able to visit after in 2016 after the European Masters, and home of KJ Naibo, who is a great pro player. And Krokol I got to go to last year. Just incredible venue, like number 2 course in the world on UDisc, and I was blown away. I think that they've got a major in them in their future. We will be bringing PCS and Konopiste back. At least that's the plan for 2025. Those events took a year off, but we hope to bring those venues back. Really excited for Turku, and then Swedish Open blew us all away last year. That team is incredible. They did a very amazing job last year, and excited to have them back as well. So I just think it's going to be a great bit of the tour. It'll be very interesting. I have actually peeked at the registration lists a little bit, but I think they're going to be very strong fields over there. And that's one of the big things I'm looking forward to this year, is seeing how the field split, because I think our fields are deep enough where we could have very compelling, like Preserve, DMC, obviously Ledgestone. They're all around kind of like, and so people are making decisions. But I think that all these events are going to have amazing and strong fields. So that's something I've kind of got my eye on. How is Skip Base handling Europe, Johnny? Or is that just integrated right in?
Yeah, it's just integrated because thanks to DGPT, oh my God, I'm so happy that there's no silver events. just because it was so difficult for players that you would have a roster and then the day of or the morning right before, someone would be like, yeah, I'm not going to play that. It's like, oh, cool, you were registered for the last 3 months, but now you're not playing, and so people were getting upset. So to not have that, I feel there's going to be a ton less. So the way the system works is we've got 2 different slates of events. We've got the entire, what I call the full tour. So it's every elite series and major, so regardless of where it is. And then there's also a North American one where we just kind of cut out all the European events, including the majors, and we just say, if you just want to deal, if you want to be kind of a lightweight and just deal with the North American ones, you can do that. But and it's split 50-50 from what I've seen as far as what people want, because I think there's going to be a pretty good contingent of U.S. players that go over there and do a decent mini tour. I'm excited to see that as to who makes that decision on the tour, and if they've already made the decision now, or they're going to get like into the season and be like, you know what, I just need to go to Europe. I'm getting out of here. You know, I'm just going to step away and spend a month in Europe playing events. I'm excited for it.
I'll follow
we
that.
Don't see too much last minute registration changes though, because you're right. Like that is, we've been kind of thinking how to de-incentivize that, because it is hard. It's for spectators, for ticket sales on site, for fantasy, for whatever. I mean, it's a pain. So we try to get players to lock in and encourage them to stay in. And sorry, Tara.
No. I was going to completely switch gears just for a moment. Some of the other big news with one of your partner events here in the States, Dynamic Disc Open. Did you have conversations with Jeremy Rusko as that news, being a Pro Tour event? Also, of course, just being this incredible hub of disc golf, Pro Tour or otherwise. But did he, I don't want to say just confide, but did he have any conversations with you about that and what that kind of means and what that investment looks like for the Pro Tour and for Rusko and crew?
Yeah, Jeremy's been a great supporter of the tour and DD through the years. So we're always, keeping up to date. And actually the first time that property was available, he had brought it to our attention and actually just wondered if we were interested in maybe making an investment there. Cards just didn't really fall that way for us. Looking over the opportunity, and there was a lot of stakeholders on the ground, him included. Now that's come to fruition, I think the plans look fantastic, and the concept's great, and really excited to get back there and see what that can kind of grow into with disc golf, a little bit more of the focus even. I think it's one of those iconic properties that if you're a disc golf fan, the holes, you can probably think through most of them in your head pretty easily. Incredible finish, incredible moments, whether it's, 16, 17, 18, what Paul did on 17 when he won in 22 was pretty incredible. And so glad that it's preserved for the sport, and excited to see the future. But I know that Jeremy's got an investment to continue to delve into now, which is almost the most exciting part, because his journey as an entrepreneur and huge impact for the sport over the years has been incredible to see. And this looks like the next chapter for him, which is just exciting. I think should be exciting for everybody in pro disc golf.
I'm excited to see what they can do with the land without restrictions, because as we know, I think it's not a shock to say that I think the front half of that course people find boring. Like holes 1 through 6. Not the most exciting golf. I happen to like it because I think I love to watch the players get challenged by the natural elements, and the wind to me in Emporia is what you're fighting against. You can be playing against the rest of the course, but we don't see wind like that almost anywhere else. But to see what they can do with that whole environment to maybe make it a little more exciting, like the back half of the course, I feel is. So I'm personally excited about what's going on.
They've played around a lot with 4 and 6 over the last couple of years. Those have changed a lot. But I really love 1 through 3. I mean, maybe you have to be there too. 3 is a really cool hole, the way, it kind of falls away. I think it's hard to show on camera. You almost got to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 is like, having played it, I think the pros just make it, maybe look a little easy, but I think it's a cool hole, and 1's kind of is iconic, and you just get to see him air it out. So, I got no real complaints there, but I would agree. I think that the back half is the real memorable element. So yeah, I mean, knowing that they've already kind of started around those edges, like, I think you're right. It could be cool to see, what gets reformatted if they dive in.
And then I guess I'll follow that up with a really random one for you in talking about properties and what Roscoe's doing there. Disc Golf Pro Tour, maybe as a secret or not, I don't think so. Let's hope not. He has been essentially looking for a headquarters of sorts.
Yeah, for like 4 or 5 years.
To really dig into a property, facility, so on and so forth. Is there any front runners, areas, anything that, because I feel like you go out and scout that out as often as opportunities present themselves. Where does that stand for you guys right now?
Yeah, I think the way we've looked at it is, like, we're getting to know our, kind of core markets and metro areas better and better. And so the way I think things will end up developing is that, we're either going to assist with venue development with investments, or, find opportunities to make our own investments in key markets. That said, we do want to find a headquarters here. Right now we're kind of circling on Southeast. Charlotte's a candidate. Also, Austin, Texas has been, eye-opening to see how many fans, how many players, how big a disc golf community Austin has become. And so those are great examples of what could work, because you can play disc golf year-round. And Minneapolis is also like a great hub. Milwaukee even, but you got to maybe convince people to travel there and visit your headquarters in the winter. It's not as easy. I think that, when you look at somewhere like Charlotte, it's easier to come, like, it's almost like Europeans going to Charlotte is like people from the East Coast going to the West Coast. So it's kind of, like in between markets, a little bit there. So it's a good candidate. I don't have anything to announce or say, like, hey, we've got something coming, but we're working on it diligently. And I think we do have some irons in the fire on opportunities. And hopefully I'll be able to announce some news in the coming year or two that we've got something to report. But yeah, we're trying. And I think that there's some real opportunities out there for us.
All right. Well, I think those are all of the random questions, even though I know we initially largely wanted to talk about the Disc Golf Network subscription models and everything else that's going on with that. I think we're fully up to speed there. Hopefully that provided some people some clarity as to what they're expecting. I'll reiterate what some others have arrived at, which is, if you're a PDGA member, everything is so much cheaper. You're probably many of you are already going to become one or are already one. And somebody even did the math and said, well, if you want just the basic, just sign up for the PDGA membership, which is only $45 or $50 for an amateur membership for the year. Heck, sign up your kid as a junior for $30 if you really want to be cheap, right?
And easy there, Terry.
And then I'm just saying, there's ways, and like we want people to optimize their experience. And if you really work at it, you can make this still very, very affordable.
But as we said, sign up on the website.
Yes. Yeah.
DGPT gets a little bit more kick rather than the app. Not that you can't sign up on the app, but we prefer the website. And when I say we, I mean DGPT in the control room. And yeah,
you're right. We probably should charge more in app or take that away. But it is the ease of registering and subscribing. But yeah, I mean, I would echo what you said, Terry. But I'll also say, hey, if you're a standard subscriber, it's really the same with more upgrades. Obviously, you got to make a decision on the majors there in terms of USDGC and EO. But I've heard a lot of people that say, "Hey, great! I want to support. This is something I've wanted to have more features." more concurrent streams, more second screen experiences, and just more development and innovation. So we're gonna keep pushing forward. We're not trying to rock the boat too much here. Like it's $12.99 last year, $12.99 this year for the main product, and just a new upgraded opportunity for people that want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways is that what we have in the standard is just that. It was the standard pretty much, and everybody is kind of extra freaking out more than they maybe even need to. And if you don't want or need those extra couple of events, like, you'll live as well. Of course, we want you to get them, but if you don't, everything's going to be just fine. There's a lot of continued outrage today, and
and they can make the call when you get there too. You get to July, the day before the event. It doesn't, Johnny, I was going to say, it doesn't have to be on the first of the month either. It's just whenever you subscribe, it's a month later. So you could do it, the Friday of European Open if you want. So, make that call then. But until then, everything's really the same with upgrades, really. So over 90% of the content, live DVR, 60 frames per second, and we're just gonna keep investing, put everything back into it, and keep riding the wave here. It's been an awesome 5 years, and next year is our 10-year anniversary of DGPT. And I think I'm starting to popularize that concept because we want to go big. We want to do some fun stuff and really celebrate 10 years. You guys have been there the whole time, so
yeah, it's crazy.
I'm sure it seems kind of crazy that it actually is the 10th season next year, but hopefully it'll be the best one.
Just today, as I was doing some editing from the weekend, I was thinking to myself about some of the earlier days of our broadcast and how we would go pull the memory cards out of the FPO footage after every 3 holes. It would literally get run back to me in a bar at the Memorial or in a library
at a picnic table,
and I would edit together those 3 holes that then would have to get uploaded so that we could play them during the men's broadcast. That was our replay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Insane.
That's how we were doing things just a few years ago. It's honestly, it's just mind-numbing to think.
Steve would commentate on them. And I remember seeing that in between, here's how the women did, on the show.
Yep. It was, it's been a wild ride and then some, that's for sure. So somebody asked me earlier if we were having you on tonight so that you were going to tell me I was getting a raise, but I said I wasn't sure that was.
No, we are announcing a special higher tier subscription that lets people just mute you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
I get a share of that, I hope.
No. Sorry.
Damn it.
It's just the Terry Miller mute. So.
All right, Jeff, enjoy your time down there in Florida. I'm sure we'll be talking through some business updates or meetings or calls.
Yeah,
and
you're looking good
stuff.
too. You're looking a little trimmer there, buddy. You're looking great. Getting ready for that wedding, huh?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Damn.
You got the big day to prep for. But no, off season, you can eat well. You can maybe work out. Get on the mountain, ski a little bit, that kind of stuff. So
that's great.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
All right, pal. Well, we really do appreciate you joining us tonight. Hopefully, again, providing some clarity for everyone out there, and looking forward to kicking off the 2024 season kind of officially here in the just a couple days. I know I arrive in Bend, and then we had a production meeting. You had meetings. Jeff's got meetings, and next thing you know, we're going to be live on air and giving the world some disc golf. So thanks for joining us tonight, Jeff.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for having me as always, guys, and thanks for all you do.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Don't forget to check your email.
Yeah.
Bye, Jeff.
Okay.
Bye. All right. Jeff Spring, CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
I'm, as you just had mentioned, I'm really excited about where the Pro Tour has come, where it's going. I think we're definitely on the right direction. It has, as much as, you can find complaints about a lot of different things on the Pro Tour, whether you want to complain about the cell signal quality at some events, you want to complain about, maybe a camera getting loose and us seeing the ground or the sky, or maybe the scores being off, or a graphic that's bad, or anything. the Pro Tour is clearly doing things right, because you can see it not just in their subscriber numbers, but just the quality of what they've put out over the last 3 years has been really phenomenal. And
people forget where we came from.
People don't know where we came from. Not just forget, they just don't know. And I have to always give it a shout out when I get the opportunity. The unsung hero of the Pro Tour, Mahmoud, is just always there, always watching. He has been a big push in why our broadcasts are as good as they are. So,
all right. Well, hopefully, again, that answered some questions. Is it fair to say that the graphic, even that you referenced, that the world saw, whether it was on Instagram or on the Pro Tour page itself today, is it fair to say that a little bit of today's uproar and confusion maybe just came from a few select words of clarity on the graphic? And I'm not throwing,
I think so.
I'm not throwing the graphics or the communications department under the bus, because it's a lot to communicate.
Yeah,
and I understand that.
It's hard to put everything into
but that's what I wonder.
An easy graphic, because there's so much. As we talked with Jeff, there's a lot of little niches. I think the big confusion is really the post-production and the Jomez stuff, because we have people still asking, like, wait, so it's like, no. From a post-production standpoint, the Jomez next day coverage doesn't change. If you don't want to watch live, you can still watch next day. It's just that it has ads in it. If you want to watch that, uploaded at probably and released at the exact same time without the ads, and I don't think, and I'm not 100% sure, and I didn't want to ask Jeff because I don't know how detailed he got into this, but Jomez has obviously YouTube ads, but they also have burnt-in ads, which, like the picture-in-picture when people are tapping out and you get you see a Discraft or a DGPT ad. I don't know if those are also going away in the ad-free. Personally, I would hope so, if it's considered ad-free, but you just don't know. But for sure, obviously no YouTube ads, because it's not on YouTube. So I think that's the really big confusion, is that and it says here, first round of all DGPT events and select PDGA majors. So there is some confusion as to whether or not it was on YouTube still, or if you had to get a subscription to do it. I think those are really the two kind of big things. Just the fact that post-production's not changing, first round still on YouTube. I know there are, like, as we said, there are some people that are upset about the European Open and the USDGC being kind of pushed into the upper tier, the pro thing. But, and I know the DGPT can't say this, I don't think that's a DGPT decision, to be honest. I think that comes right from the tournament directors.
So, which is funny.
And I think Jeff maybe kind of stepped around saying that by saying they want to get more quality. AKA, I feel that, like, and again, I don't know. We're not involved in any of these conversations, which is great because I can speculate. I feel like USDGC and European Open have seen the money they can bring in with pay-per-view. Oh, look, we can run this event and we can make an extra, whatever it is, $100,000. We'll throw out a number. I don't know. It could be 10,000 for all I know after all the products. But they see those numbers and they go, well, why are we going to give away our product for free? We can take the money that we're getting in and roll it into making a bigger and better vendor village. We can do these things, because I truly believe if the Pro Tour, because I've heard this in the past, if things were up to the Pro Tour, it would be almost all inclusive, all the events at least. Maybe not the bonuses, but I truly feel like this is probably a decision that was negotiated between DGPT, European Open, and USDGC overall, because European Open and USDGC have been the ones in the past that have wanted to do pay-per-view. And I'm willing to step out on that limb and say this is probably a decision that comes from higher up at those events.
Well, excuse me, what I didn't ask Jeff with that regard, I'm guessing he wouldn't have an answer, but if the DGN didn't cover those two events, the funny question is, who would?
That's a great question. I mean,
because you would get a universal live provider, because you wouldn't get one from within.
Not an endemic one,
exactly,
universal one.
A universal one. That's what you would get, aka the GK Pro Skins match. You would get someone that isn't tied, because we don't have any other live providers that are currently available to do it within disc golf. So they would have, both of those events would have to go outside of disc golf to get a live streaming option. And so I feel like, and I'm not suggesting anybody necessarily plays hardball with anyone, but if the Pro Tour, DGN, didn't cover those two events, I just wonder what those two events would also look like. And then, naturally, you know what we'd get. You'd get everyone complaining that not everyone, you'd probably field a lot of complaints saying, why is this not on the network? And why isn't this as good as the people that cover the other 30 events during the year? Because you have some other universal solution.
I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. Who covered the USDGC? What's the name of the company? It's kind of where
Fulcrum?
Fulcrum, thank you. It was where Ian came from, more or less. Ian had worked with Fulcrum. I don't even know if Fulcrum is an actual company. I think they got acquired by one of the Ultimate companies and worked with them. I don't know who would do something like that. What we do know is that they would not do it as well as the DGN. And I mean, it's really hard to say.
Yeah. So,
but I think
it
benefits everybody that's all on DGN, and I'm glad it is. But I do understand some of the complaints. I don't necessarily agree with them, considering you can, like I said, you can upgrade for 2 months and get those two majors, the EO and the USDGC, and it's going to cost you $14, which is less than one of what the pay-per-view probably would have been. So, whatever.
Don't be talking any of that math or common sense with me. All right?
It's two things Terry doesn't deal with, math or common sense.
You got it. All right. Well, I think with that, we've covered all like the nuts and bolts disc golf conversation that we need to for tonight. Mm-hmm. And I think from there we could probably shut things down, then jump into an after show, and then I can go sleepy after that.
I'm
ready to catch up a little.
Okay.
So, for our regular show, which this has been, as regular as we get, 493, we want to thank the CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Jeff Spring. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll have the after show, where we'll talk more things, disc golf or non-disc golf related. Anything's possible. I don't know, Q-Series, QAnon, where does it all tie together? You'll find out maybe in the after show. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV 493's After Show. A little twisted there. Is that how I normally open?
You forgot the word podcast. Episode 493's After Show.
I got most of the important words.
Yeah. So hear me out.
All right.
Q-Series.
Uh-huh.
QAnon.
Yep.
10 years coming up. 1 + 0 is 1. We're 1 year into, away from an election, and so it just all fits together.
Yeah,
I mean I connected the dots, Terry. That's
and if it doesn't happen, well, we'll just move a goalpost somewhere.
Yeah,
and it will happen.
Yeah,
then we'll just say something else
at some point.
I think it's the year of the reckoning.
Okay. I thought it was the year of like the rabbit or something, but what do I know?
No, it's not. No, it was a rabbit. I think it was Chinese New Year just did take place in the last few days.
My wife told me about it, and I forgot.
And I feel like last year was the rabbit, and this year is it a dragon?
It could be, or the dragon.
I feel silly. I'm not sure right now.
Mm-hmm.
Your animal. And then like 12 animals pop up when I do the Google search. Let's do it for 2024.
Yeah, maybe add a little
dragon.
Okay, you're the dragon.
Yes. Which I should have known because one of the pictures I took in the airport was a dragon, but I didn't know if it was specific to this year. I just remember
it matches my dragon tattoo that I have.
Not coming yet.
No.
I remember somebody saying that last year was the year of the rabbit, and they definitely did not like that. That's what I thought somebody told me. But anyway, here we are. We're back. I am back on United States soil. I've been here.
They let you back?
Not quite 24 hours. And man, I don't know how many times I got to tell you people, don't, this isn't even a pitch just for Thailand. Just go somewhere. Go anywhere. Singapore was nice. Malaysia was great.
Somewhere outside the States.
Get somewhere outside the States. Take some international, and I know it's not so easy. I don't have money just to get. You can save some money, and you can go somewhere international. I promise you can. Obviously, some places are cheaper than others when you arrive, but a little budgeting and a little planning, go experience something outside of the U.S. You'll thank me for it.
Now, you were on a different timetable, obviously, different time zone. How much of the Super Bowl did you get to watch? Because you woke up and the Super Bowl is on when you wake up there. It's like halfway through it or something.
Yeah, there was a very concerted effort to have a Super Bowl party at one of the event sponsors. I think very appropriately named The Score is that sports bar. And they had like pre-reg type, like pre-commitment to be there. They were going to open at like 5:30 or 6 a.m. or whatever it was. Yeah, I had no interest in that, largely because I had no dog in the fight. I don't really care about the Chiefs.
Correct.
Except for the owner, Taylor Swift. I only care about her. I'm kidding. And the 49ers. Like, I just didn't personally. Now, I will say this, absolutely unequivocally, if any of the 4 years that I've been in Asia during the Super Bowl, and if the Packers were playing in it, I would make the effort to get up and watch that.
Sense.
But I'm not going to bother. And coincidentally, I was flying out around 11:30-ish. So I needed to be at the airport by 9:30, 10. And a few of us decided to make a longer night of Sunday night and then not worry about a Monday morning wake-up call at 5:30 or 6 or whatever time it was going to be.
So how much...
So to answer you, 0 minutes and 0 seconds. At one point, I think the first time I checked the Googles for a score, it was just starting maybe the fourth quarter. And I don't know if it was 16-10 or 23, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I just didn't really care that much. Yeah. And then at one point I saw that it went into overtime. I'm like, that's cool. And even to this very moment, I still have not watched literally one play on any kind of highlight or recap or anything like that.
There weren't, I would say there were not any spectacular plays. Like, there's nothing shocking like we saw maybe earlier in the playoffs where, it ricochets off of another player and the guy catches it.
Sure.
This was a pretty standard game.
Defense wins championships, and that's what it looked like. It was a defensive stand.
It was a defensive game in the first half, Terry, with like each team with a turnover. And then the second half, it got a little bit more exciting.
Okay.
Well, but besides that, ultimately, we all know the reason you watch the Super Bowl is the commercials in the halftime, Terry.
True.
Have you seen... Did you get tingles in your loins from Usher?
I have only, again, even commercials. This I'm more embarrassed about. I haven't watched 1 second of one commercial, nor did I consume any of the halftime hoopla, so to speak. So I have only read headlines, something about Usher. I'm just going to repeat it because I did find it funny, and I didn't click the like emoji, but I did find it funny. I think it was Drew Gibson that posted and said something to the effect of, Usher, simmer down, like my girlfriend's watching or something like that. And then somebody else chimed in and said, bro, your girlfriend's not old enough to know who Usher is. And I got a kick out of that because his lady friend is half our age, literally less than half our age.
And Drew is almost half our age. So
yeah. So
just to be clear,
that
it's
was
not like Drew's our age.
Yeah. So I just thought that was a funny comment. So clearly Usher had a solid something about roller skates. Is that what I read?
Yeah. So I'll break it down real quick. Sorry for those of you that have seen it. Usher comes out, sings. I'll get into my issue with Usher in a minute.
Whoa!
Yeah.
You have issues with Usher?
I don't. But
she's got a baby by Usher.
He's got a baby by Usher.
I ain't saying she's a culture. Okay, go on.
He comes out, sings a song, gets on stage. Alicia Keys is there playing this big red piano. Very cool. He wanders over, goes into another song. At one point, vanishes. Comes out in a different outfit on roller skates.
Skates or blades? The board just said blades.
I thought it was skates.
I heard roller skates.
I'm pretty sure they were all roller skates.
Marky, come on, get it together.
Marky,
okay.
I mean, we usually do blades, but I think those were like old school roller skates.
Okay.
Which I immediately said, like, woo, like, that's dangerous. Now, Usher seems to be really good on skates. He's a great dancer.
Believe, yeah.
I mean, it's whatever, but. And then he's like swinging around. And then at one point he goes on, I think under, was it Lil Jon's legs?
Wow.
And slides under and whatever. The highlight of the entire halftime show, of course, is when Ludacris shows up.
Oh,
Luda, as I posted on Twitter, there's the one song that everyone knows by Usher. Was it Yeah? Is that the name of the song?
Yeah. I mean, So Close, My Way. Yeah. There's a bunch of them.
I mean, there are other ones, but clearly the banger he closes out with as Lil Jon and Usher, or Lil Jon and Luda. I thought that part was awesome. My complaint is, as good as Usher is, none of his songs are really pick-me-up songs, except for that one. I felt that while Usher is literally exactly our age. I think he's 46 or 45.
Okay.
But he became very popular latter in our life.
Yeah.
So like
15, 18, 20 years ago.
Correct. Where we weren't exactly, looking for that. So I didn't feel like the songs were enthusiastic enough. The dude does the best Michael Jackson impression I've ever seen.
Okay.
He came out with quite literally, I think he had 2 white gloves at one point, but then lost one, was wandering around with 1 white glove.
Dang.
And was breakdancing. He was doing like moonwalk kind of thing, like breakdancing.
Okay.
He was the...
Well, Michael Jackson's alive. Q just told me that.
Oh, nice.
No joke. I mean, I literally read that a few days ago.
Oh, he basically he mimicked Michael Jackson.
Okay.
And that's fine.
All adds up.
I thought it was fun. I don't know. Just, I didn't feel like there was enough energy in the halftime show until you got to the very last song, which I didn't even realize was an Usher song. I thought it was a Ludacris song because Usher does so little in that song. Yeah.
Well, just a point of clarification, October 14th, 78 is his birthday. So you're roughly 6 or 7 months older than him, and I'm about 3 months older than him.
Yeah.
Than Usher.
So
what have we done with our lives?
We're not Usher.
Sitting here in a basement, couple of schmucks talking about Frisbee golf.
At one point, Usher did obviously rip off his shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And show his...
Okay, well, those images immediately send to my phone.
Yeah, I will. For his fine physique. He's not shy on that. So, I don't know. But, I mean, I'm sure if you like Usher and Usher music, if you're very familiar with it, there was probably... you probably liked it. But it's just not... It felt more like... Yeah, like... much more, I don't even want to say romantic, but get it on music, which is what Usher is known for. Like, sure, romance is there, but
Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. I mean, this is all, it all ties together.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was
did
hoping
Kelce propose at the end of because I know that was a prop bet.
No, he was actually handing out vaccinations. Yeah. He proposed a vaccination for everybody.
Okay. That makes more sense. I heard that was going to happen. So. Okay, well, good to know. I guess I'm going to have to go back and consume some of this. Pilcher says, I didn't watch 1 second of the Super Bowl and have not even looked up the score. Fair enough. I mean, let me just say this, because obviously the halftime show is a point of conversation every single year,
as it should be. It's
no
a big
matter
production.
what. You're never we have 335 million people in this country. Somebody's always going to be pissed off and hate the halftime show.
And I didn't hate it. I just didn't think it was
I'm just saying, I'm
energy,
sure others did, and there's that person sucks, and like no matter who it is, it's just we have how many genres of music, and then all the different age ranges in which are watching this. It's just like there's nothing. I don't think there's anything more predictable in life than people bitching about the halftime show. Like I just. Because you can literally scroll to see best halftime show ever, followed by worst halftime show ever, and I could just do that for an hour down my Facebook feed, no matter what.
And I kind of judge the halftime show as to how memorable it is, maybe how meme-worthy it might be. And I was thinking back at like some of the previous ones. Was it just last year we had Dre and Eminem,
Snoop and those guys?
or was that 2 years ago?
I feel like that was a couple years ago.
I don't know. Look up Super Bowl halftime history. But Katy Perry, what does everyone remember? Left Shark.
Yeah.
The Weeknd, what does everyone remember? Him running around in that maze of mirrors. You've got Prince from way back when playing Purple Rain in the Rain, which, no argument, the best Super Bowl halftime show of all time, period. I'm not a huge Prince fan, but the man could do it.
Yeah, so it was last year was Rihanna.
Last year was Rihanna, yeah. And so Rihanna had the meme was her jumping on the platforms like Mario. Like she had all the different platforms that were floating in the air. So that, again, memorable. I don't feel like there was anything memorable about Usher other than him on skates.
It lists Dr. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar. The Weekend was the year before that one. Shakira and Jennifer Lopez in 2020.
I remember Shakira, yeah, because she did the finger between her tongue. And
Maroon 5. That year before that
was boring.
Was Justin Timberlake. Year before that, Lady Gaga. Year before that, Coldplay. Katy Perry was back in 2015.
Yep.
And Bruno Mars the year before that one. Beyonce.
Bruno Mars one was all right, but I just didn't feel like there was enough energy in this one. So
I don't know. I hated it.
Wait,
I loved it.
I mean, but again, I would not consider myself a huge fan of Usher's music or repertoire. I know just a few songs.
I don't believe I'm about to ask this, but he was not part of the Fire Island debacle. What rapper was directly linked to that?
I don't know. I forget.
It was like a big hit at one point.
Yeah, no, it was like a 90s rapper or something, or maybe early 2000s.
No, Ja Rule.
Yeah,
that's who it was.
Early 2000s,
okay.
Ja Rule.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of similar era, so it was Ja Rule.
There you go. Nick Markey says Ja Rule.
There we go. Gotcha. A couple of guys chiming in. Love it. Anyway, okay, so that was the Super Bowl. No part in it myself, for all those reasons. Now, I'll say this. If I was staying in Thailand for a couple more days, and then a ton of the golfers were in fact going to then maybe I would have made an effort to get up and be part of just the overall experience. But knowing that I was leaving at, like I said, 11 in the morning or something like that anyway, I wasn't about to try to go to bed early Sunday just to get up for it.
Not worth it.
For all those reasons. But
did you haven't seen any of the commercials or
literally
anything?
Nothing. It's kind of, but it's not really that crazy, because if you think about it, the Super Bowl happened at roughly, we'll say like 6:30 to 9:30 my time, or 6:30 to 10:30 a.m. on Monday. By 10 or 10:30, 10 o'clock, I'm in a cab, which is a 30-minute drive and costs $5, but that's another story. I'm in a cab going to the airport, and then I'm at an airport in a 4-hour plane ride, at a very quick, or I had done a couple hours of layover, and then a 14-hour plane ride. Like, that was my entire Monday for me. And so if it didn't happen in the moment, I've almost had literally no minutes to consume it. So
I thought the commercials were okay. Again, kind of like how I feel about the halftime show. Nothing amazing that stood out for a commercial. Nothing that really made me chuckle. The ones I did kind of like were there was a Dunkin' Donuts one with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Tom Brady and J-Lo.
Okay.
That that's an all-star lineup. And
Sure.
I'm a kid of the indie movies, so Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, I always have a soft spot for those two guys. It very humorous. Matt Damon never has a problem using the "How do you like them apples?" line. He uses. I've heard him say it and a bunch of different things. I did chuckle. I thought that was pretty good. There was a Kawasaki one where they're driving around, and as it drives around, it's giving all these people and animal mullets, which I thought was kind of funny. And there was a Skechers one with Mr. T that I liked. Now, and granted, that one might hit me, obviously.
Quite generational.
The 80s generational in that, because whoever is the Skechers promotion person, I forget, was saying like, hey, there's no T in Skechers. There is no T. And Mr. T comes walking in and gets all upset, which I thought was funny. Other than that, meh, I thought. Those are the three that I thought kind of stood out and were good commercials.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll go back and take a little time just because I know so much money, which is a whole nother story. Again, especially when you're coming from a place like Thailand and you see people who live in some of the situations that they live in and what their life is like on a given day. And then you turn around and here's $7 million handed over for a 30-second ad spot, and it puts some things into some interesting perspectives when you think about the bigger picture, for sure. Marky saying the halftime show 2 years ago had people hating on it over Kendrick Lamar being a part of it. Always got haters.
Yeah. I mean, because Kendrick Lamar, phenomenal musician and artist, didn't fit with the theme of who else was in that particular halftime show with Dre and Eminem and Snoop. He felt time-wise out of place. He is an evolution of those artists, but just on a different timeline.
Yeah,
so I can understand how people would be like, why is he here? And yeah, apparently people use, it's not Temu. Which is apparently crappy Amazon.
Which makes there's a funny similarity in that one of the gentlemen that I ended up filming a number of rounds, who's from Finland, who finished I think in third or fourth. I think he finished in fourth at the Chiang Mai Open. It's Teemu, and it's not Temu, which is what it looks like, and you would think, but then I think I heard somebody else say it's Temu, and the one that you're talking about, the company, I think is just Temu.
It is.
There's not two E.
But I still think it's pronounced the same way.
Yeah, correct. So I don't know if that's part of its overall Finnish, Finnish influence there or not, or if it was just a made-up word to them. But
we did get one good Travis Kelce meme out of the Super Bowl of him yelling at Andy Reid, and a lot of people are putting whatever they want on there. I saw one person who had put something like, if he works on his X step, he'll definitely get to 350 feet or something. Him yelling at Andy Reid. That was, I think that's one of the things that's going to be lasting out of this particular.
What exactly? What prompted this is that he ran over and yelled and or touched or pushed the coach or something.
He basically kind of ran into Andy Reid. I don't know if it was on purpose that he bumped into him, or he just got too close. But he walked over to give Andy Reid a piece of his mind.
And was that after a missed play or?
I think it was just he was not in. He was, and that was, I think, I'm fairly certain it was in the first half. He just felt like he was probably not being involved as much as he should have been.
Really?
Because, I mean, honestly, there was a good period where like Travis Kelce was not a factor in that game. He just was gone, and I think he just wanted to remind Andy Reid that he's still here. He's getting open, and to make sure not to uninclude him from the game plan.
So Swifty.
I mean, he's got
Swifty.
But honestly, after that, he was part of the game, and because what he did is he like bumped into Andy Reid as Andy Reid was maybe not necessarily in the most stable position, and kind of Andy Reid dropped something and got just a touch tipsy for a second, and then whatever. And both of them were just kind of like after the game saying like, yeah, it happened, and we're not going to necessarily say exactly what he said, but it was, that's how we communicate sometimes. So if
everybody's love language is a little different.
That's right. If coach is good with it.
Something worth sharing that happened on my way out to Thailand. I had what was supposed to be a 17-hour to Singapore. Technically, I went from San Francisco to Singapore right after the Shelley Sharp, and I had a 17-hour flight, which with holdups was over 18, and I managed to binge and consume from Netflix.
Ooh, what is it?
I feel like you've said the word Louder Milk.
Yeah, Louder Milk. My wife and I watched that. We did you binge all 3 seasons?
No.
Oh, wow, that was like a full.
But I would have if I had seasons 2 and 3 available. So no spoilers here because I've watched all of season 1.
Is there not the other seasons available? Or you just didn't download them?
I just didn't download them. I remember I'm like, I think this has been said by somebody at some point. So I hit download. I got the entire season. And then those other governments, I think I was in... It might have been when I was in Taiwan yesterday. I'm like, ooh, I should now download season 2.
Not available.
Wasn't available. And I was
ooh,
I think I need one of those VPN thingies.
Yeah, it was probably available on Hulu then, maybe, unless they took it off Hulu to put it on Netflix.
I thought they were specifically blocking it because of the country.
And that could be, but
that I don't know.
When we watched
somebody go to Taiwan and look.
No, or maybe it was on Amazon Prime. I forget exactly where, because my wife found it. She watched the first episode without me. I happened to sit down on the second episode, and I was like, oh, what's this? And at that point, she kind of quickly explained the premise. I sat down and started watching, and her and I, it took us a couple weeks. We went through the whole first 3 seasons. There's not going to be probably a 4th season, even though they kind of left it, not I don't want to say at a cliffhanger, but definitely at a position where they could do a 4th season. It's good. It's about a guy who's a recovering alcoholic who does he hosts an AA meeting. He used to be a writer, a music writer, and so he's a prick and
and owns it.
But also he's very snobby in his music tastes.
Yes, yeah,
and it's all part of his character. It's the guy Ron Livingsworth, I think, or Livingston. Ron Livingston.
Yep.
Who a lot of people know from The Office, the original movie Office Space, not The Office, but Office Space is where he was from. So
I didn't realize it was also this old.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 years old.
Holy cow! I had no idea. Yeah. Well, so
we just watched
just
it
by
last
going
year.
to Wikipedia, I see season 1 is actually 10 episodes, season 2 is 10 episodes, and season 3 is 10 episodes, and that ended back on in 2020. So. Interesting.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
It got killed by the pandemic. Honestly, I think just everybody it didn't come back, and it was. I mean, again, it's a good series. I mean, as any series when you're that long, there's a couple of really good episodes. There's a couple of mediocre episodes, but I mean, ultimately, it's worth a watch. If you like the first season, you'll probably like the rest of it.
Okay. Well, I will at some point bother going out and trying to, if I can. Okay, Sony Distribution licensed all 3 seasons to be available on Netflix as well as Amazon Prime.
That's where we
as of January 14th, 2024, the seasons are available on Amazon Prime and Netflix in the U.S. So I just simply couldn't get to them when I was in Taiwan yesterday.
Sure.
I'm like, I'll download these for my way back, and I literally couldn't find them on Netflix. So anyway, so I wanted to share with that I enjoyed it. Funny, that shows you again how out of it I can be on certain things. The fact that that's a 3-year-old series.
And I had never heard of it until last year when my wife happened to go through it. It's not like it was one of those things.
I feel like you must have mentioned it here on a Tuesday night.
I did. I'm sure I mentioned that Sarah and I were watching it, but it's just one of those things where it's like, we happened to stumble upon it. It's not like it was like critically acclaimed or anything.
Sure.
Like that.
Ray says, I watched a little bit of Louder Milk 2 this weekend. Really great cast. So many hilarious comedians.
Yeah, there's some really good comedians in that.
So, yeah.
In the AA meeting, I think almost all of those guys are comedians of some sort. And it's very able-friendly, I guess is the word I'll try to use, in that there are people that we traditionally say are disabled and things like that they just include. Like, you know, there's no qualms about it, and it's just a normal, everyday occurrence. I really like how inclusive it seemed to be.
Speaking of okay, maybe not. That's a stretch. I only because I do travel so much have gained Star Alliance Gold status.
Look at you.
Yeah, it's not that fancy. It's only like the second level up, so it's still not that impressive. However, more importantly, that gets me into a couple of lounges now
Ooh.
at airports. So before I did have a little layover.
The Delta ones?
United is who I have gold status with.
Yeah.
And so there's a United one in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And you walk in.
It's really nice. I've been in them.
They're kind of nice. Like, it's something my cheap ass would otherwise never get to partake in. And it's just nice because you have obviously a huge buffet or offerings of food and hors d'oeuvres, plenty of alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks. I'm not a big, I would never drink before a flight. It's just not my thing. I feel like that could be bad.
Oh, I do. Like, I don't get like obviously hammered, but I don't mind sitting down. Yeah, I should. And having like a nice tall drink right before you get into a plane.
I don't know. I just never.
It's not like I need it or require it. I just, if I get to the airport
fill
early,
up your flask.
Sit down and have a drink.
So anyway, I got a little taste of it. That was United because I have gold status with United. On my way back, I flew EVA Air, which is within the Star Alliance, and then that got me access to one particular place in Chiang Mai, and then also there was like 2 or 3 different offerings of places you could be at the Taipei airport, which is a really big, really nice airport already. Yeah. And so to have like a 3-hour layover, but have it not even feel like one because you go into there and it had a shower option, which I didn't need.
A bed.
In that case, it was
like food.
Yeah. It was awesome. I could get used to that when it comes to these long travels, and I do feel like I think of it as being like kind of bougie to some degree, but then not really. It's like it's kind of their nice little reward that you travel a lot.
If you travel
fly
a lot,
around a ton.
And the only reason I've ever gotten into one is because when I travel with my boss, who has traveled a ton, he is a member of. I'm fairly certain it's the United ones. Maybe it's Delta. I forget, but either way, I've gotten to go in a few of them with him. And it's just nice because you sit there, you just lay your stuff down, just hang out. You're not really worried about it. It's got some people watching, and it's just a really comfortable thing.
Lots of food options, food and drink. This one even had self-serving ice cream, which was pretty cool. Then you have like 6 different styles of chairs. So depending on what your your relaxing looks like, are you there just to veg out in front of a TV, or are you there, and you want to sit in a particular desk that, sets you up for doing actual work? Like, I just loved all of those different options. It was really nice. So I'm decades behind where some of you have been when it comes to those experiences, but earning enough status, quote unquote, to be able to do that. And then you're not like fighting for a spot somewhere,
like hoping to get one near an outlet or something. Yeah,
exactly.
Crazy.
That's honestly, and then the fact that there's always specific internet in there and so on and so forth. Just turned out really great. So that was one of the minor experiences that I also got to partake in well on some travels.
The only other thing Ray brought up, something he binged that we also finished watching, was Love on the Spectrum season 2 on Netflix. Phenomenal. Like, I can't think of a better like documentary kind of style thing where they just take 2 people or they follow a person around who has autism as they try to get into the dating scene. And some of these people are young, like 18, 19. Some of them are as old as 50 to 60, where it's just, hey, these people it's so wholesome and just feel good. There's a couple on there that met in season 1, spoilers, and they're still dating in season 2, and so they kind of follow him on this trip to Africa that they both, that they wanted to do. And it's just so, it's really truly just a great series in that it feels very real and natural, and not like, as Ray said, like that could feel like really exploitative, but it's not. And it's just these people who like, hey, we're gonna follow you on a blind date or on a date. And sometimes you see somebody, and clearly these people that they pick that are on the spectrum are of varying degrees, but like there's one guy who dyes, he's got long blonde hair and he's really into like Renaissance fair stuff, and he talks and kind of stutters a little bit, gets really nervous around people. And just, you see these girls walk up, and some of them have autism, some of them don't. And you're just kind of like, oh, I wonder, oh, that's nice that they hit it off. But you're kind of, sometimes you're thinking like, that's probably not going to work for him. Or the guy who found, like I said, the guy who found love or is dating a girl that he at one point worked with years ago at some place. And it's just how they don't hold anything back internally. Everything is almost said out loud. And that's just naturally probably who they are and not necessarily for this. And the thing that gets me, of course, hits me right in the feels are the parents, because most of the people still live with their parents.
Sure.
And that you just get, you get the parents' perspective on them just getting so excited for every single little date. Like this one guy, he's sitting there like waiting on the phone, like, oh, should I call her? Should I call her? Should I call her? And the mom is just like, just call her. And he can't, he just can't bring himself to do it. And it's so good. It's such a phenomenal series. That it's just so wholesome. There's no storyline behind it. It's just like a documentary, and I can't gush enough about how good it is.
All right. Well, I have more flying to do in a couple days, so it sounds like that might have to be one that I look into.
Literally watch the first episode. If you like it, do the whole thing because it's all just as good. If it doesn't float your boat, then just be like, you're not missing anything.
All right. Ryan out on the board says, I watched a newer action comedy with Arnold called Fubar on Netflix and liked it. Ryan also celebrated a birthday in the
happy birthday, Ryan.
Since last week's podcast. So happy birthday to you, Ryan. I do have some updates. I'm thinking of Ryan, thinking of southeastern Wisconsin, and then I'm going to dox he lives at. No. While I was gone, big shout out to our trusted and beloved PDGA 1276, Tom McManus. He was literally the boots on the ground that went to the course that I've been working on along with Tom and another Tom and John Turlap and Ryan. He went there while they were augering and bulldozing and brush clearing in the snow here in southeastern Wisconsin. And so many of you know I've been working with a Parks Department in Salem.
Witch trials.
And down in that area, Salem Lakes. And we've been going through the entire just standard disc golf course project. Except for these guys are not what you and I are used to, because a few of us did the design, we submitted it, then they had surveyors come out, then they contracted for people to come out and do the clearing. 98% of all other
Parks
courses,
Department and courses, they tend to rely a lot of the labor on the players and the disc golfers
or volunteers or the club. These guys contracted out somebody to come in and do the actual clearing and literally carving out the fairways.
They're doing it quote unquote right.
So big thank you, because I told them I have like 2 or 3 months. And things kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
Bureaucracy,
when did they want to do the clearing? Like the day I leave for a month-long trip. And so Tom McManus stepped in, went out there multiple days, and was at the property. Now we're going to clarify and confirm everything that they've done and start picking actual spots where they're going to dig out the tees and then dig out the pins. Mind you, they're doing all this in what was like a few feet of snow at the time, which I thought was a crazy time. I get that you want the ground to be frozen because you have this heavy machinery and you don't want it to get stuck.
You won't tear up as much.
But the fact that it was also, doing all of this with that much snow on the ground. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to go back out there. This happened almost a month ago, and it's about an hour drive from where I live. So I'm going to go down there and check things out. But Ryan, I think you appreciate that update, and big shout out again, Tom McManus physically going out there, because those are days I was going to meet the contractors out there and just double check while they're carving our fairways. Go here, don't go there. Even though everything was marked, I wanted to be there for that, and it ended up not happening while I was here. So thank you, and thank you again to Tom McManus. That's what I'll say about that.
Terry, I'm going to take just a few moments here, and I'm going to get our Patreon ready. I know we have got a few giveaways that we need to take care of. I think we're going to do 2 tonight.
Okay.
And then we'll take care of like 2 or 3 next week.
Yeah, time to start getting caught up on them, especially since I've been out of town. Big thank you. I'm going to say it again. huge thank you to Latitude 64, who was our title sponsor of the Samui Swine this last couple weeks ago. Super excited. We now have a few Samui Swine discs in the pro shop over there in Thailand, but also some, well, I'll call them generic stamped. That we call it the souvenir stamp that has the Samui logo on it. So all of that in the pro shop, and we're going to continue to get them. We'll continue to get a few other manufacturers in there, but Latitude stepped up in such a major way to make this event this year a huge success. So big thanks. And I don't know, spoiler alert, big thanks to First Light, who I think is going to be getting on board with possibly sponsoring a brand new pavilion/gazebo over at the Samui Disc Golf Course. So even though they didn't commit to it, I think maybe that will help pressure them into it. So thank you for sponsoring. In all seriousness, Dan, Robin, Boyd, thank you guys so much. I think they're going to be on board for a brand new gazebo covering over there in Samui. Desperately needed and ready to get that going. So thank you. All right. Yes, Joe says on the board, thank you to Tom McManus. Couldn't agree more. So Johnny V is going to pull those up. Just a quick update. I know I touched on it in the regular show, but I'll just quickly recap. I have what will be 3 rounds of MPO Samui Swine action. Quietly, I've already edited 2 of them, almost fully. I have 9 holes that's fully edited and commentated, maybe even gets released tomorrow, of the Southeast Asia Open. That took place in Malaysia. And then I have the last 2 out of the 3 rounds that took place at the Chiang Mai Open. One of those is already edited. And then Spicy Boy covered the Maricopa event, and we have 3 rounds of which I need to get the footage and start editing that. So ton of coverage to get released. So I'm glad my voice feels sickly, so I can do,
so you can do the commentary.
Just, hey guys, we're here for another round.
It's your Climo impression. That's all.
So tons of coverage is coming. So thank you guys for all of that support.
And you can be a supporter at Terry's Patreon, the Disc Golf Guy, or you can be a supporter at Smashbox TV's Patreon. If you're a supporter at Smashbox TV, you will obviously get entered into our weekly giveaway. Weekly, I'm going to put that in quotes because it hasn't been weekly because Terry's been gone, and
it's effectively weekly.
It's effectively. We're going to be catching up. We do basically do about 52 a year, so yeah. we try to we'll make it as weekly as possible. This week we have 134 people eligible for our giveaway. We're going to do 2 giveaways. You said you're going to do a.
I think I've got a Samui disc or 2 that's should be ready to go.
And I'm going to pull into my little bag of tricks here. I haven't seen one of these recently, so I don't know maybe if we got unsubscribed or not, but
I want it.
I still have them. The discstore.com disc member box. I've got a small pile back here.
All right.
Just 2 or 3. We're going to give away one of these as well.
Sweet.
Yeah, so we have 134 people eligible. That includes the people who sign up at smashbox.tv/weekly giveaways. Obviously, we always want to include you. But Terry, it's been a while since we've done this. Let's see if I can remember.
Yeah, let's see if
134 people. What number do you want to generate?
I mean, I've been to Samui 4 times, so it's gonna have to be the 4th.
All right, so this is for the Samui disc.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Our first number is 95. I sorted it by first name. Second number is 99. Third number is 96.
Wow, 95, 99, and 96.
This one's going to be way off. It's going to be like 22 or something.
Okay.
And our final number is 71. 71 is the number. Let me pull up the list that I just created literally moments ago. And it's Keith, Colorado. Keith, Colorado. Congratulations, Keith, Colorado.
And that's not just like...
this is somebody who entered in at Smashbox TV because
look at him.
He entered in on exactly a week ago. So they probably did it right after our
last show.
Yeah, right after the last show. So congratulations, Keith. You are our first winner tonight. You get the Samui Swine disc.
Nice. I like it.
Nice. And then we're going to give away one more thing. We're going to give away the disc member box, Terry Miller. How should we do this one?
I've been to the Chiang Mai Open twice.
All right, so we'll do 2 more then.
So let's do 2 more, yeah.
So our first number is 104, and our next number is 120.
Damn, all on the high side tonight.
120. Yeah, we didn't see many low numbers. Let me scroll down to 120. Timothy Donegan. Congratulations,
Whoop,
Timothy
whoop.
Donegan.
Thank you, Timothy. As
Timothy, you're going to get this box. I don't know what month it's from, so it's a surprise to me too. Because I just have a small stack here because we've been meaning to give some away, but just haven't had a chance.
And Timothy, you are a very significant sponsor.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even notice that. Thank
and
you.
Contributor. Not that others aren't, but you've been with us for a while, and we really appreciate your support. So thank you so much for that. Both of you guys, if you happen to be listening, I'll be sending you an email soon, hopefully, so that we can confirm what your mailing address is. I had a couple of Smashy discs come back recently, so please, let's make sure that I have your correct email, or email doesn't do me any good, your actual address. Let's make sure that I have it correct so that we're not wasting any money throwing away at the post office. However, if you ever want to ship something from one section to another in Thailand, let me tell you, here's the best, maybe one of the better hacks on the planet.
Better than the Pro Tour hacks you were giving?
Yes, I know.
Better than the DGN
I'm all about
hacks.
saving you guys money. I had to fly from the island into Chiang Mai. My plane ticket was like $86. I got it relatively early. Great price. No problem. $86. However, if I wanted to bring both of my suitcases that I had brought onto the island, if I wanted to bring them both off, both weighing around 20-ish kilos, if I wanted to bring that second
Just
suitcase.
when you say kilos, it just makes me think like, yeah.
If I wanted to bring that second suitcase, it would have been like another $200 on my $86 ticket. It would have been like $200 to bring that suitcase to Chiang Mai with me. So what do? I go to the local post office place, wrap it up, send nearly 50 pounds of like 1,000 miles, and it cost me like $7. Could you imagine taking a 50-pound box? And you don't ship as daily like I do, but
Nope.
Just for everyone listening, think of taking a 50-pound box, which is roughly 100 discs, in usually what's called a quad box that holds 100 discs, shipping that from like Washington State to Florida. First of all, how many days it'll take, and even at the cheapest rate, how that's somewhere between probably $60 and $100, somewhere in between there. And it would take anywhere from 3 to 5 days. I did the equivalent of that, and it cost me $7. So I shipped from Koh Samui into Chiang Mai an entire suitcase that was full for $7. There's your hack, people. Do your shit once you get to Thailand, anywhere in Thailand. Some people do it just because they literally don't want the hassle. Like, I won't even bring my bag on the plane and load and wait for. I'll just ship my stuff over there wherever I'm going.
Do you ship your pants?
Yeah, I ship my pants because those big gas prices. So hey, Johnny, I ship my pants. Yeah, you can ship your pants too. Do you ship your pants?
I've never shipped my pants.
I ship my pants all the time. Speaking of pants, today was the first time in 28 days I put on pants. It felt weird. Not gonna lie. Between Arizona, Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand, I haven't had any pants on. I packed 3 pair.
Just to be safe. It's good.
I assumed at some point I would need some. I didn't. And I'm not one of those like guys that's like, oh, it's 12 degrees, I still wear shorts. Like, I'm a big guy, but I don't go that route. I draw the line at still wearing pants when it's seasonable or requires them, so to speak. But yeah, today was the first time I put pants on in like 28 days. I don't know. I guess if you live in some place like Florida or Arizona, you're thinking no big deal, but it kind of was.
Okay, Terry Miller.
Anyway, anything off the board before we cut you guys loose? Can you ship yourself? Oh, man. I'm sure some idiot has tried for a YouTube video or otherwise, but yeah, at like $7. It's just crazy. $7. Ryan says, I'm planning on coming back to Samui to celebrate my 40th next year. That's a good call. I swear during Trevor Harbolt talking about Chiang Mai and talking, kind of wrapping things up as he podiumed, he's like, I want to move here. And it's so funny how many people go there, experience the culture and just everything that it has to offer. And then immediately, like, I could see living here. I'm not going to say Shasta Chris said the same thing, but he almost said the same thing. Like, there's something really special about being there, that's for sure. Ray says, yeah, shorts guy in winter is weird. I get it. Some people, depending on your size, that's usually a bigger guy thing, is like, you let's put it this way. You rarely see a super fit, in shape guy that weighs 172 pounds and it's 5 below. He's usually not running around in shorts like, yeah, this is the norm and this is no big deal. It's usually someone that's pushing the 3, 4, whatever mark, and then is just like, yeah, I'm still comfortable in shorts. And that's usually the correlation there. I don't think it's weird. I can understand it. It's just not me. Ray says, Terry, you really did give away a pretty big cost-saving measure by getting DGN subscription free with a $30 youth PDGA membership. Jeff's face looked a little worried. I mean,
if you have a youth that you want to sign up for the PDGA, I mean, I've got 2 of them if I really wanted to, but thankfully, I mean, that's
the other thing I was going to say is we were talking about money and memberships, and you kind of alluded to it, and I think we all do in some, and Jeff definitely did without saying it specifically. Like, I'll play 10, 15, maybe 20 rounds of disc golf this year. Probably. Maybe. I don't need UDisc. But just on a philosophical level, I'm totally good with paying the UDisc fee every year.
Same here.
It's just and I get it. Not everybody wants to do that, and I'm not badgering or trying to guilt or suggest others have to do that. I'm just saying there's some people that are totally fine with throwing the support at it just to support it. And the dollars and cents may not work out massively in your favor. Like, I may only score a couple of rounds this entire year on UDisc, and I don't care because I want to see those guys and UDisc and others. I want to see them grow and thrive and succeed. That's just how I feel about it. There's a lot other ways you could truly piss away 25 or 30 or $50 or whatever the case might be for some. Another case in point, I signed up just a few days ago, right before I left, actually. I signed up for our local pay-to-play system, our pass system within Milwaukee County.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like, I could pay a day pass, which is like $5 or $6.
Oh, that reminds me.
I won't play 10 rounds of disc golf out there this year.
I owe some cash.
I still had no problem just buying the pass and being done with it. I want to see it succeed. That's all there is to it.
I think it's Wysocki County money now.
Oh,
damn. We went up
you
like in December.
Cheapskate.
We went there, and you drive into the park, and there's nobody at the park entrance because we got there at I want to say it was like Saturday at probably 9 a.m.
At what park?
I forget. The one up, not I don't know.
Tendick?
No. Further north than Tendick. One of the newer ones that
I've never played?
Yeah.
The
one where there's the pro shop.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. Sandy Knoll. It's
Sure.
Sandy Knoll.
Okay.
I was following our friend Steve there because we agreed we were going to go there for our morning round. Pull into the park. There's nobody sitting at the booth. I don't think anything of it because we're going to a park. I've been there one other time. I park with right next to Steve. Our friend, couple of our friends show up. We play around. I drive away. Never once was bothered. I get a letter in the mail, 3 weeks later, saying, "Hey, we got your license plate. You didn't pay.
Ouch.
It'll be like $10, $7, or $10 or $12."
Are you paying for parking or for the golf?
You're paying a parking pass, or not a parking pass. You're paying for the golf. You're paying for you pay to get into the park, which I didn't know because there's nobody there. There's no signs.
Okay.
Even if I wanted to pay, I don't know who I would pay, but I didn't have a sticker on my car that says I bought a thing. So I called our buddy, and said, hey, were we supposed to pay? And he's like, yeah, well, we've done it before. We've got in, and no one's ever said anything. And I'm like, oh, I had no clue. I just literally followed him in there. So I get this letter, and I was like, okay, guy, yeah, I think I got it on like a Friday. I'm like, I need to take care of this because you have to call. You can't even do it online. You have to call
But
them.
they are advanced enough to get your license and send you a letter. They're advanced to have all that technology.
I couldn't
but not
pay
to
online
take your
because
payment.
I went to the website and I could not pay online, which pissed me off. So then I'm like, okay, I'll deal with this later. I'll call him. I forgot. It's been like 2 to 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I
So there's a warrant out.
there might be a warrant out for my arrest.
That would be awesome. I would
Just
love
get
it.
impounded.
If, first of all, you go to jail before me, and second of all, it's because you didn't pay for disc golf.
So somehow now I
park.
need to figure this out because I'm sure I threw the paper away months ago. It was probably sitting on.
I mean, you could probably just call the county office.
Exactly. I'm probably going to have to
and
call the
say-
county office. Say, here's my
and
license
they'll be like,
plate.
yeah. Oh yeah, we just looked
It's like
it up.
$600.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
God.
Wow, you POS.
I totally forgot about that until literally just now when you said
You're
I paid
welcome.
it because it'd been like I literally set it down. I said I can't pay online. Gosh, this sucks. This is stupid because I was going to do it right away.
Yeah.
But you can't do it because they want you to call, and you can call and pay for like a full like season pass or like a special 1 week. It was so dumb. And I put it away and I forgot. And it's been like literally I think 2 to 3 months since we went. Now I need to get that figured out.
One thing I figured out real quick today. Of course, with being gone, I haven't been in my car. I get in my car, pull onto the wrong side of the road. And I'm driving, thankfully no one near me, but just down my street by my house. I'm like, I initially pulled into the wrong side of the road. And then I had to think about it. I'm like, I literally
Which
was like,
side do I
shit, am I
drive
on the
on?
right side? No, I'm not. I'm so used to driving on the left side of the road, so to speak. And just even, I've been in a couple of cars in the last month for really pretty much just like quote unquote taxi rides. Their version of Uber is Grab, and which does all sorts of things. But outside of that,
I also offer up my Grab service.
yeah, I bet you do. That's what gets you in jail. So
if I end up in prison.
So not only did I have to get used to that, but stopping at a stop sign, like literally following any form of just traffic laws, because when you're in
Suddenly
Thailand,
you're above the law?
No, but when you're there, like rolling stops are a thing. There's barely any stop signs. Let's be real. Rolling stops and just when you pull, and I finally recorded some GoPro footage, so I'm going to release this at some point. But when you're there and you're let's just say you're coming up to a T-ish intersection, which I feel like there's very few hard T intersections, or a four-way, and let's just say you're coming up perpendicular to an intersection. There might be 100 cars that are just going, it's just a flow of traffic, and you're trying to pull onto there, and you see 2 cars and 9 scooters. You just pull in with them. You don't wait until like there's an opening. You make sure none of them are coming from the other way to smash you, but you just pull in with them. It's a constant merge. That's the best way to word it. It's just a constant merge when you're there. So things like hard stops, they kind of go away at most intersections. And I will say this again, there's 10 times the congestion when you're there traveling. 10 times congestion. It's like New York City all the time probably, but for us it's like 10 times the congestion. There's all of these people, there's so many scooters and bikes, motorbikes, and very few cars, but they're all there, thousands of them, and yet I feel as safer than driving here. Like, because they're all still respectful and paying attention. So when you pull in, like, oh, okay, I'll just scoot over a little, you're coming in, no big deal. And the way I liken it to is like skiing, where they say that the person following, the person behind you, it's always their fault, so to speak. Yeah. I feel like it's the same way. You could be, almost tire to tire, but as long as you're paying attention to the people in front of you and everybody is just being respectful, the traffic just still flows just fine. And And it's what's also funny is when you're on someplace like whether it's the island or you're in Chiang Mai and you pull up Google Maps, it'll say for your car, it may say 22 minutes to get somewhere. And then you click on the motorbike option and it might say 14. And clearly you're bobbing and weaving and your streets are, I don't know. It's amazing. If you're okay with being a little bit aggressive and a little bit assertive, but yet cognizant and aware, it's such an experience to travel around when you're there. And if I feel like if I were driving a car, I would kill someone, like because it's so tight and everything's very close, and you have to be like okay with it. You have to be okay that at any given point, if you're in a car and you roll down your window, you could reach out and touch somebody on a motorbike next to you out of either side of the car, like just nonstop. And it's such a unique experience. And I don't mean to tell anyone to freak anybody out, but it's a very, very unique experience. With that, big time takeaway that I'll post about tomorrow. No broken drone, even with some significant flying. No broken phone, which I've somehow done twice there, and no scooter accident. That is how you win. That's how you win Thailand. Is those three things for me. So I'm coming back a full-blown winner in that case. No broken drone, phone, or scooter accident. And with that,
drone, phone,
or bone. There you go.
That's the key, Terry.
One other quick thing I want to say is, I know this is going to sound a little, maybe even surprising or not surprising to you. I, for the first time ever, get to use my own drone footage in some of my post-production. Normally, you kind of rely on others and have asked or thanked, or just because even if I could do it, somebody else is definitely going to be better at it than me. Mm-hmm. At Samui, it's only 11 holes, I know, but I managed to drone in, I'd say with about a 7, I'm not 7, sorry. I'd say about maybe a 930 rating-ish, my drone skills of the course.
It's funny because you drone every week on this podcast.
That's true. You'd think I'd be better. But I managed to drone all 11 holes at Samui, and I'm excited to finally have literally my own drone footage. Chiang Mai, I was running out of daylight and time, and quite frankly, I just didn't want to attempt a couple of the holes with the time that I was on. So I got about half to 2/3 of the course out there. So it's not perfect. They're not great. Let me warn you now. But I am excited that my own drone work is going to be included in my own footage. Again, these are some things you'd expect 5 years ago, but here we are, nonetheless. All right. Do you have to merge with other drones? I didn't see another drone at any point. If you saw my Facebook today, though, that was a shot I took with a drone over one of the piers, and it was pretty cool. So, I'll release a bunch of those pictures as well.
Let's wrap this up, Terry Miller. We've been doing this for too long.
I don't know about that, but all right, guys.
I meant the whole podcast, though.
Yeah, no, I know.
We're almost doing our 10-year anniversary.
Thank you to all of you for jumping in. Thank you guys for being patient. I know it's been a couple weeks since I've been gone, and we've been a little bit different. Johnny's been holding down the fort. But thank you guys all. Thank you to Jeff Spring of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, our CEO, who jumped on to give some clarity and also some excitement. We're just literally a couple days away from having our All-Star weekend. And with all of you guys, you know that really gets things going on the Pro Tour side of things. So we'll see. I think myself, Sexton, Doss will all be in the booth, along then obviously Val on the FPO side. So should be a good weekend and a lot of fun. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's podcast 493's after show. Thanks for all the love and support. We love our Patreon supporters even more than the others, but we love you all to some degree. We'll see you next week. You step inside the Smashbox.